Welcome to the Locked Compartment on the Orient Express by the Glitch Bureau. This book covers the Orient Express should have been an escape from old Europe and its newer humiliations, a warm ribbon of velvet and brass cutting through the winter dark. But in the Carpathian Mountains, a blizzard halts the train and turns luxury into confinement. When a celebrated Viennese arms broker turned philanthropist is discovered dead inside his first-class compartment, the door locked from the inside, polite certainty becomes the first casualty. The corridors are half dark with rationed heat, the lamps burn low, the air smells of coal smoke, wool, and cold metal. As the passengers fracture into whispering factions, one unnerving detail refuses to settle. A name overheard in the corridor, a figure glimpsed once and then never again, a passenger who does not appear on the train's registry at all. To solve the murder, the investigator must read not only footprints and keys, but manners, omissions, and the quiet violence behind perfect courtesy. Because the dead man's charitable reputation is only the last coat of varnish, and the past beneath it still stains. This is not a mystery of tricks, it is a mystery of people. Chapter 1: Velvet, Brass, and White Silence. The blizzard had transformed the Orient Express into a luxurious cage, its opulent interiors now a study in contrasts. Velvet drapes and brass fittings glimmered dimly under the rationed glow of gas lamps. The snow outside pressed against the windows, creating a cocoon of white silence that swallowed all sound. Marta Sheckley moved through the half-dark corridors, her trained eye catching the smallest details. A claims adjuster by profession, Marta had honed her observational skills to a fine point. She noted the uneasy tension among passengers, the subtle shift from comfort to confinement as the train sat immobilized in the Carpathian Mountains. Dr. Otto Weissmann, a celebrated philanthropist, was a man of dual reputations. His public persona as a benefactor of hospitals and war widows masked a shadowy past as an arms broker. As Marta passed his compartment, she couldn't help but sense the whispers that seemed to cling to him, like the coal smoke that lingered in the air. The important thing to remember was how quickly the veneer of civilization could crack under pressure. The rationed heat created pockets of discomfort, with some compartments stifling near the pipes, and others freezing by the outer walls. Anxiety showed in small ways, a ring tapping nervously on a table, overly polite apologies, the guarded clutching of handbags. As Marta continued her silent survey, she knew that the halted train was more than just a setting. It was a microcosm of old Europe, with all its complexities and contradictions laid bare. The stage was set for a mystery that would unravel not just through clues and evidence, but through the very manners and omissions of its passengers. As the snow continued to fall relentlessly outside, the once majestic Orient Express had become a microcosm of old Europe, a testament to its grandeur and its ghosts. Inside, the train was a world of velvet and brass, now muted by the cold and the confinement imposed by the blizzard. The air was thick with the scent of coal smoke, mingling with the dampness of wet wool and the metallic chill that seeped through the windows. It was in this hushed and tense atmosphere that the social hierarchy began to show signs of strain. Marta Sheckley, a woman of keen observation and quiet authority, moved through the train with the practiced ease of someone who had spent years reading systems and human behavior. Her role as a claims adjuster for a European railway insurance syndicate had honed her skills in detecting the subtle shifts in routine and demeanor that others might overlook. As she counted her footsteps along the dimly lit corridors, she noted the small, telling signs of anxiety, the tapping of rings against wood, the overpolite apologies, the sudden guarding of handbags and papers. Dr. Otto Weissmann, the celebrated Viennese philanthropist, had been the center of attention when the train departed. His reputation as a benefactor of hospitals and war widows had preceded him, casting a veneer of respectability over his past as an arms broker. But now, with his death discovered in his locked compartment, the carefully constructed social order was unraveling. The passengers, once united by the luxury of the journey, were now fracturing into whispering factions, each aware that the murderer could be among them. The blizzard had halted the train in the Carpathian Mountains, turning the opulent escape into a claustrophobic confinement. The corridors, half dark with rationed heat, became pathways of suspicion and speculation. Marta, with her small notebook of carriage diagrams, began her investigation, not by focusing on the physical evidence of the locked room, but by observing the manners and interactions of those around her. Picture this situation: a dining car that attempts to maintain its rituals despite the tension. Linen tablecloths, silver cutlery, and murmured French create a facade of normalcy. But beneath this surface, the social hierarchy is under stress. The Baroness Ilse von Raben, with her impeccable manners, moves through the car with an air of practiced elegance, her every gesture calculated to maintain control. Her insistence on serving a cordial to Weissmann earlier in the evening, under the guise of courtesy, now takes on a more sinister significance. With this in mind, Marta's focus shifts to the subtleties of etiquette. In a world where appearances are everything, the smallest breach in protocol can reveal hidden truths. The Baroness's insistence on narrating the rules of etiquette is not merely a trait but a tool, a way to stage manage the narrative and obscure her true intentions. Central to this is the realization that perfect manners can be a mask for deception. As Marta interviews the suspects, she observes the ways in which they wield politeness as both a shield and a weapon. Henri Valois, the French journalist, uses charm and wit to deflect suspicion, while Father André Petrescu's quiet demeanor conceals a deep-seated grudge. Victor Kessel, Weissmann's former associate, hides his desperation behind a veneer of business acumen, and Sister Magdalena Krall's calm professionalism belies her knowledge of wartime poisons. The effectiveness of Marta's approach is notable. By focusing on the social dynamics rather than the physical evidence, she begins to unravel the complex web of motives and opportunities. The missing passenger, a figure glimpsed once and then never again, becomes a critical piece of the puzzle. The conductor's confession of a favor done at the border suggests that the passenger's absence is not a mere oversight, but a deliberate omission. Based on current data, Marta pieces together the timeline of the murder night. The cordial glass, collected later than it should have been, supports the theory of delayed poison administration. The timing of Weissmann's death, estimated by the doctor aboard, further corroborates this. Yet, it is the Baroness's behavior that provides the most compelling evidence. Her insistence on etiquette, her control over the serving ritual, and the faint medicinal scent on her gloves all point to her as the orchestrator of the crime. In the salon, with the passengers gathered, Marta presents her findings with natural authority. She recounts the timeline, the behavior of the suspects, and the logical chain of clues that lead to the Baroness. The revelation is met with a mix of disbelief and resignation, as the carefully maintained facades crumble under the weight of the truth. The past crimes, buried beneath layers of respectability, are finally exposed. The resolution of the murder mystery is both satisfying and sobering. The train remains trapped in the snowbound landscape, a symbol of the inescapable past. As dawn breaks, Marta reflects on the nature of courtesy and deception, understanding that in the end, it is the quiet violence behind perfect manners that reveals the true character of those involved. In this tale of intrigue and human complexity, the social hierarchy, once a source of stability, becomes a catalyst for conflict. The locked compartment on the Orient Express, a seemingly impenetrable mystery, is unraveled not through tricks or clever deductions, but through the careful observation of human behavior. It is a reminder that beneath the veneer of civility, the past always leaves its mark. The dim glow of the dining car lamps cast a warm golden hue across the polished wood and brass fixtures, a stark contrast to the icy landscape outside. Marta Shekeli sat quietly, her gaze moving with deliberate intent across the room. The air was thick with the scent of coal smoke and the muted clatter of cutlery against fine china. Her eyes narrowed slightly, taking in the subtle cues of the passengers around her, each absorbed in their own world, yet linked by the shared confinement of the halted Orient Express. Her observational skills were a finely tuned instrument, honed by years of analyzing human behavior and the silent language of gestures and expressions. As she sipped her unsweetened tea, Marta noted the rationed heat's effect on her fellow travelers. The chill seemed to strip away layers of civility, revealing a raw edge to their interactions. Polite smiles were stretched thin, barely concealing the irritation simmering beneath the surface. Dr. Otto Weissmann, seated at a nearby table, was engaged in conversation with a fellow passenger. His smile was practiced, yet Marta detected a discordance, a tension in his eyes that belied the warmth of his expression. His handshake, when exchanging pleasantries earlier, had been overly firm, as if compensating for something hidden beneath his polished exterior. Weissmann's reputation as a philanthropist was well known, but Marta's instincts told her there was more to his story. Her attention was drawn to the Baroness Ilse von Raben, whose laughter rang out, slightly too loud for the subdued ambience. Draped in jewels that caught the light with every movement, the Baroness seemed to be performing for an unseen audience. Marta suspected that her ostentation was a facade, a distraction from whatever secrets lay beneath her polished veneer. The Baroness's insistence on perfect manners, always narrating the etiquette of the moment, struck Marta as a carefully constructed shield. As the train shuddered slightly, Marta's gaze shifted to the conductor, whose furtive glances suggested a burden of knowledge unshared. His demeanor was that of a man who knew more than he let on, his eyes flickering nervously towards the closed compartments as if expecting something or someone to emerge. Marta's observations were not just a passive pastime. They were the tools of her trade, her ability to read between the lines crucial in her role as a claims adjuster for a European railway insurance syndicate. Her wartime experience as a records clerk had taught her the value of details, the stories that numbers and lists could tell when viewed through the right lens. On this train, her skills were both a gift and a burden, as she felt the weight of the unspoken tensions around her. Her internal monologue was a steady stream of analysis, each passenger's demeanor catalogued and cross-referenced with their interactions. She overheard snippets of conversation, fragments that hinted at underlying animosities and alliances. A whispered name caught her attention, a name not listed on the passenger registry. This anomaly planted a seed of doubt about the passenger's true intentions, a puzzle piece that did not fit the picture being presented. A subtle gesture, a handkerchief dropped and retrieved with an unusual flourish, caught her eye. It seemed innocuous, yet in Marta's experience, such small acts often hinted at deeper connections. Her curiosity was piqued, the gesture suggesting a silent communication between two passengers that warranted further scrutiny. The lamps flickered suddenly, casting eerie shadows that danced across the walls, momentarily heightening the tension in the room. Marta reassessed her surroundings, her senses on high alert. In the hushed silence that followed, she felt the undercurrents of fear and suspicion ripple through the air, a palpable reminder of the fragile veneer of civility that held the group together. As the dining car settled back into its rhythm, Marta's thoughts turned inward, reflecting on her role as an observer. Her ability to see beyond the surface was both a blessing and a curse, a compulsion to uncover the truth that often placed her at odds with the world around her. Yet it was this very skill that would prove crucial in the days to come, as the mystery of Dr. Weissmann's death began to unfold. The seeds of doubt sown by Marta's observations would soon grow into a tangled web of intrigue, each revelation both surprising and inevitable in hindsight. Her insights provided a lens through which to view the intricate social dynamics on the train, making each interaction a potential clue in the unfolding drama. As she prepared to leave the dining car, Marta's mind was already piecing together the puzzle, her thoughts a tapestry of connections and possibilities. The mystery that lay ahead would test her skills to their limits, but she was ready. With a final glance at the passengers around her, Marta stepped into the corridor, the cold air a sharp reminder of the challenges yet to come. This chapter set the stage for the mystery that would deepen with each passing hour. Marta's observational skills, her ability to read the unspoken language of human behavior, would become the key to unraveling the truth behind Dr. Weissmann's death. As the train remained trapped in the winter wilderness, the tension within its walls would only grow, and Marta's role as the observer would become ever more vital. The Orient Express, a marvel of luxury and engineering, had promised its passengers an escape from the burdens of old Europe. Yet, as it ground to an unexpected halt in the heart of the Carpathian Mountains, the train transformed from a symbol of opulence into a gilded cage. Outside, a relentless blizzard raged, pressing against the windows with a white fury that seemed to swallow the world beyond. Inside, the dimly lit corridors, once resplendent with the warm glow of velvet and brass, now lay shrouded in the gloom of rationed heat. The air was a heady mix of coal smoke, the sharp tang of cold metal, and the earthy scent of damp wool. Amidst this sudden confinement, Marta Sheckley moved with quiet purpose through the cramped corridors. A claims adjuster for a European railway insurance syndicate, Marta was no stranger to the complexities of human behavior. Her keen eye for detail, honed during years of wartime service as a records clerk, allowed her to perceive the subtle shifts in the passengers' demeanors. Despite the veneer of luxury, she sensed the tension simmering beneath the surface, a silent acknowledgement of their shared predicament. The social dynamics aboard the train had shifted dramatically. Passengers, once content in their first-class compartments, found themselves thrust into closer proximity. Conversations that had once been animated now turned hushed, and glances were exchanged with furtive caution. The blizzard outside mirrored the storm brewing within, as whispers of discontent and suspicion began to circulate. The train, with its narrow corridors and locked compartments, became a character in its own right, its claustrophobic atmosphere amplifying the passengers' emotions. Among the travelers was Dr. Otto Weissmann, a figure shrouded in both admiration and suspicion. Known publicly as a celebrated philanthropist, Weissmann's reputation had been carefully constructed, yet Marta's observations hinted at a more complex character. His interactions with the other passengers were marked by a practiced courtesy that seemed to mask deeper tensions. It was as if the train's halt had peeled back the layers of social niceties, revealing the raw nerves underneath. As the hours passed, the confined setting of the train began to build suspense. The blizzard outside became a metaphor for the isolation and confinement felt by all aboard. Marta, with her unique observational skills, started to piece together the undercurrents of tension that would soon erupt into open conflict. She noticed the small, seemingly insignificant details. A name overheard in passing, a figure glimpsed fleetingly, a passenger who did not appear on the train's registry at all. These elements planted the seeds of mystery, hinting at the larger secrets hidden within the train's walls. Marta's emotional journey was one of grappling with the confinement and the themes of trust and suspicion. Alliances began to form and fracture as the passengers navigated their new reality. Marta's growing awareness of the social dynamics set the stage for the introduction of key suspects and the unraveling of Weissmann's complex persona. Her observations were not merely passive. They were the foundation upon which the mystery would be solved. The scene was set for an unfolding drama, where each passenger's story intertwined with the others, creating a tapestry of intrigue and deception. The train, once a means of escape, had become a microcosm of old Europe, with its secrets and scandals brought to the fore. As Marta moved through the corridors, she was acutely aware of the stakes involved. The murder of Weissmann was not just a crime to be solved, it was a reflection of the human condition, where courtesy and deception walked hand in hand. The chapter closed with Marta's growing awareness of the social dynamics, ensuring a seamless transition into the next chapter. The stage was set for the introduction of key suspects, each with their own motives and secrets. The unraveling of Weissmann's complex persona promised to engage readers with its rich atmosphere and the promise of secrets yet to be revealed. The tension and confinement aboard the Orient Express were not just physical realities, but emotional landscapes that would shape the unfolding mystery. Marta Sheckley sat quietly in the opulent dining car of the Orient Express, her eyes fixed on Dr. Otto Weissmann. The flickering lamplight cast long shadows, creating an atmosphere of both luxury and mystery. Weissmann was a portrait of contradiction. His warm smile never quite reached his eyes, and his gentle authority commanded attention without demanding it. Marta's keen observation skills, honed through years of reading human systems, detected the subtle cues of his dual nature, a man whose life was a tapestry woven with threads of philanthropy and shadows of his past. As the train glided through the winter darkness, Marta's mind drifted to a recent charity gala in Vienna, where Weissmann had been the guest of honor. His speech, full of hope and benevolence, painted him as a savior of the destitute. Yet whispers among the attendees hinted at an opportunistic nature and questionable sources of his wealth. Weissmann's public persona was a carefully crafted veil, masking the complexities of a man whose past dealings were as shadowy as the corners of the train's corridors. In the confined space of the train, now halted by a blizzard in the Carpathian Mountains, Marta found herself drawn into a conversation with Victor Kessel, a fellow passenger and former associate of Weissmann. Victor's knowing glance and cryptic comments about Weissmann's past dealings were laced with irony, suggesting that the philanthropist's charity might be a mask for darker deeds. A man like Weissmann, Victor mused, does not leave his past behind. He merely learns to hide it better. The train, luxurious yet trapped by the snow, became a metaphor for Weissmann's life. Just as the train was a gilded cage, Weissmann's life was haunted by the shadows of his past. Marta watched him interact with other key passengers like Baroness Ilse von Raben and Father Andrei Petrescu. Each interaction revealed layers of his character, his charm, his strategic mind, and the tension that simmered beneath polite exchanges. The Baroness, with her perfect manners, seemed to share a history with Weissmann that was not entirely cordial. During a private conversation, Marta noticed a moment of vulnerability in Weissmann. Perhaps it was a fleeting look of fear or regret when he thought no one was watching, a hint at the internal conflict he could not escape. It was in these quiet moments that Marta felt the first cracks in his facade, suggesting that Weissmann's dual reputation was more than mere rumor. As the train remained trapped, Marta overheard a heated argument between Weissmann and another unseen passenger in the dim corridors, the details of which remained elusive but suggested a dangerous secret. The confined space of the train amplified the tension, and Marta's mind raced with possibilities. What was Weissmann hiding, and how did it connect to his past? Throughout the subchapter, the storytelling tone captures the reader's imagination, focusing on the emotional and thematic resonance of duality and deception. This sets the stage for the unraveling mystery, where Weissmann's dual reputation becomes a key puzzle piece. Marta's observations and insights invite the reader to question appearances and anticipate the revelations that will challenge their perceptions. The exploration of Weissmann's character is essential, as it establishes the complexity of his life, providing a rich backdrop for the unfolding drama. As the narrative progresses, the reader is drawn into a world where motives and tensions drive the story forward, and where the truth is as elusive as the shadows cast by the flickering lamplight. In the end, the chapter leaves the reader with a sense of anticipation, eager to discover the secrets that Weissmann has hidden and the impact they will have on the lives of those aboard the Orient Express. The duality of his reputation, both philanthropic and shadowy, becomes a central theme, challenging the reader to consider the nature of truth and deception in a world where appearances can be deceiving. Chapter 2: A Philanthropist Among Wolves. The dining car of the Orient Express shimmered with the soft glow of lamplight, casting a warm contrast to the cold corridors outside. Dr. Otto Weissmann, a man of paradoxes, sat at the center of attention. His public persona as a philanthropist was as polished as the silverware before him. Yet beneath the surface simmered tensions that only a few perceived. Baroness Ilse von Raben, poised and calculating, exchanged polite repartees with Weissmann, her eyes betraying a deeper disdain. Her perfect manners seemed to mask a personal vendetta, one rooted in the shadows of past war crimes. Across the table, Henry Valois, an ambitious journalist, observed with the keen interest of a predator sensing a story. His motive was clear: expose Weissmann and catapult his career. Father Andrei Petrescu, a quiet presence, offered a serene counterpoint, yet his silence spoke volumes of a private grudge. Meanwhile, Victor Kessel, Weissmann's former associate, engaged in a whispered argument, his desperation palpable. Sister Magdalena Kroll, a nurse with a calm demeanor, watched the unfolding drama, her medical knowledge a silent testament to her potential involvement. As Marta Sheckley noted the subtle power plays, she understood that the dining car was more than a place for meals. It was a stage where veiled threats and hidden agendas played out. The barbs exchanged were as polished as the cutlery, but the stakes were deadly. The evening's unfolding dynamics hinted at secrets that could unravel under her watchful eye. In this confined luxury, the wolves circled, and Marta knew she had to decipher the true nature of each player before the night was through. The dining car of the Orient Express was a realm of opulence and sophistication, where the clinking of fine china and the soft murmur of French conversation created an atmosphere both genteel and charged with undercurrents. Here, amid the glow of dimmed lamps and the aroma of exquisite cuisine, Dr. Otto Weissmann held court. His presence as commanding as the snowbound mountains outside were imposing. Weissmann's public persona was meticulously crafted, a tapestry woven from threads of philanthropy and eloquent oratory. A celebrated Viennese arms broker turned philanthropist, his transformation from a dealer of death to a beacon of hope was the stuff of legend. His speeches at international peace conferences were lauded for their passion and vision, earning him accolades and adulation. Stories of his charitable endeavors filled the society pages, painting him as a man dedicated to healing the wounds of war. Yet, as Marta Sheckley observed from her seat, there was something about Weissmann that defied the polished narrative. Marta, with her keen eye for detail, noticed the subtle cracks in the facade. There were moments when Weissmann's eyes, though bright with charm, betrayed a weariness that spoke of burdens unseen. His hands, steady when raising a toast, would sometimes tremble when he thought himself unobserved. These were the signs of a man who carried secrets, whose past deeds refused to remain buried beneath the veneer of respectability. As the train hurtled through the winter night, the dining car became a stage where social dynamics played out with all the complexity of a well-rehearsed drama. Weissmann, with his charm and wit, was the star, but the supporting cast was equally intriguing. Across from him sat Baroness Ilse von Raben, her eyes sharp and calculating. There was an unspoken history between them, hinted at by the polished barbs they exchanged under the guise of polite conversation. The Baroness, a woman of impeccable manners, seemed to wield etiquette as both shield and weapon. Next to them, the ambitious journalist Henry Valois watched Weissmann with a mix of admiration and suspicion. Valois was a man on the hunt for a story, and Weissmann's duality offered a tantalizing enigma. Quiet Father Andrei Petrescu, seated at the table's edge, offered silent prayers, his demeanor one of calm observation. Victor Kessel, Weissmann's former associate, and Sister Magdalena Kroll, a Polish nurse, exchanged knowing glances, each aware of the underlying tensions that simmered beneath the surface. The dinner progressed with the grace of a ballet, each course bringing with it a new layer of intrigue. Polished barbs were exchanged under the guise of polite conversation, and hidden agendas unfolded with each passing moment. Marta, ever the astute observer, noted the veiled threats and power plays, recognizing the dining car as a stage where much more than food was being served. As the evening wore on, the social dynamics aboard the train became increasingly apparent. The Baroness, with her over-precise etiquette, seemed to be setting the stage for something more than mere conversation. Her insistence on narrating every detail of the dinner ritual, who should pour when a lady may enter, was more than just a display of manners. It was a performance, one that Marta watched with growing suspicion. In the midst of this, Weissmann maintained his public persona with the practiced ease of a seasoned performer. He regaled his audience with tales of his charitable work, his voice resonant with conviction. Yet, beneath this polished exterior, Marta sensed a man haunted by his past, a man whose public image was but the last coat of varnish over a history that still stained. As the night drew to a close, the train continued its journey through the snowbound landscape, a warm ribbon of velvet and brass cutting through the winter dark. But within the confines of the Orient Express, luxury had turned to confinement, and the stage was set for an unfolding mystery. Weissmann's public persona, so carefully crafted, was about to be tested in ways he could not have foreseen. By the end of the evening, Marta had gathered enough observations to begin piecing together the puzzle of Weissmann's life. The fleeting moments of wariness, the tremor in his hands, the guarded nature of his interactions, all pointed to a man burdened by secrets. And as she retired to her compartment, Marta knew that the enigma of Weissmann's life was one she was determined to unravel. The stage was set for the forthcoming conflict, with the reader fully immersed in the world of the Orient Express, ready to follow Marta as she navigated the complexities of human behavior and hidden truths. The emotional journey in this subchapter was one of curiosity and intrigue, as readers were drawn into the enigma of Weissmann's life, eager to uncover the truth behind the facade. As the train continued its journey through the Carpathian Mountains, the blizzard outside mirrored the storm brewing within. Weissmann's public persona, so carefully constructed, was about to collide with the private tensions simmering beneath, setting the stage for a mystery that would challenge the very nature of courtesy and deception. The shrill whistle of the train echoed through the snow-laden Carpathian night, a mournful cry lost in the vastness of white silence. Inside the halted Orient Express, the atmosphere was thick with tension, a tapestry of velvet and brass now frayed by the sudden confinement. As the passengers gathered in hushed clusters, Marta Sheckley, a claims adjuster with an eye for the smallest detail, surveyed the scene with quiet intensity. Dr. Otto Weissmann, the celebrated Viennese philanthropist, was found dead in his compartment, the door locked from the inside. The news spread like wildfire, igniting whispers and furtive glances among the passengers. This was no ordinary journey. It was a journey into the heart of human complexity, where the veneer of civility barely masked the raw edges of fear and suspicion. Marta knew that to solve this mystery, she needed to delve into the lives of those aboard, to unravel the stories that each passenger carried with them. The suspects were as varied as the landscapes the train had traversed, and each had their own secrets, their own motives for seeing Weissmann silenced. Baroness Ilse von Raben was the first to catch Marta's attention. Her presence was as commanding as it was unsettling. With her impeccable manners and poised demeanor, she seemed the epitome of aristocratic grace. Yet, Marta sensed something amiss. The Baroness's insistence on etiquette, her meticulous attention to the smallest social niceties, felt less like habit and more like a carefully constructed facade. Her connection to Weissmann ran deep. His wartime dealings threatened to unearth secrets that could tarnish her family's name. Revenge and containment were powerful motivators. As Marta observed the Baroness, she noted the subtle ways in which she controlled the narrative around her. During a brief courtesy visit to Weissmann's compartment, she had insisted on serving him a cordial herself, a gesture that seemed innocuous but carried the weight of intention. It was a clue, a thread that Marta knew she had to follow. Then there was Henri Valois, the French journalist traveling under the guise of a cultural correspondent. His sharp eyes missed nothing, and his presence near Weissmann's door on the night of the murder was noted by more than one passenger. Valois had been chasing a career-defining story, one that could expose Weissmann's past and elevate Valois' standing in the journalistic world. Yet, his means were more aligned with pressure and persuasion than with the subtlety of poison. Father Andrei Petrescu, the Romanian priest, was a quiet, contemplative figure, his eyes often turned inward. But there was a depth to his silence, a weight that suggested unspoken grievances. During the war, atrocities had scarred his homeland, and whispers linked Weissmann to those dark days. Father Petrescu's moral authority gave him access to confidences that others could only dream of, and his presence at the conductor's side, discussing a missing name, hinted at a deeper involvement. Victor Kessel, Weissmann's former associate, was a man driven by desperation. Their shared past was littered with financial entanglements and broken promises. Kessel had been seen arguing with Weissmann, their voices low but intense, before retreating to the smoking compartment. His motives were clear: money and the fear of being cast aside. But his actions spoke of financial ruin, not murder. Sister Magdalena Krall, the Polish nurse, was a figure of calm amidst the chaos. Her medical knowledge and steady hands were assets in times of crisis, yet they also provided her with the means to administer a deadly dose. She had recognized Weissmann from her time working with war survivors, and her proximity during the evening service placed her in a position of opportunity. As Marta pieced together the complex web of relationships and motives, she was drawn to three primary clues that would guide her investigation. The first was the cordial glass, collected from Weissmann's compartment long after it should have been. The steward's note that it was not from dinner service suggested a private offering, a gesture of trust turned deadly. The second clue was the timing of Weissmann's death. The doctor aboard estimated that he died well after retiring for the night, supporting the theory of a delayed poison rather than a midnight intrusion. This pointed to a planned, calculated act, one that required knowledge and access. The third clue lay in the manners that did too much. The Baroness's insistence on narrating etiquette, on dictating the terms of social interaction, was more than just a quirk. It was a tool, a way to control the narrative and mask her true intentions. Marta recognized this as stage setting, a performance designed to mislead. Despite these leads, two red herrings threatened to derail the investigation. The snow tracked in the corridor suggested traffic near Weissmann's door, but it was merely the result of general movement during the train's stoppage. Similarly, Kessel's argument with Weissmann seemed damning at first glance, but it was rooted in financial desperation, not murder. As Marta reconstructed the events of the murder night, she focused on the timeline, piecing together the actions and interactions that led to Weissmann's demise. Dinner began at 7 p.m., a ritual that tried to hold despite the encroaching cold. By 8:40 p.m., Weissmann received the fateful courtesy visit, the cordial poured with precision and intent. By 9:40 p.m., he was seen in the smoking compartment, calm and mildly flushed, before retiring to his compartment at 10:05 p.m., bolting his door and requesting privacy. The muffled cough heard by an adjacent passenger at 11:30 p.m. was dismissed, but it was a harbinger of the tragedy that would soon unfold. When the conductor attempted to deliver hot water at 1:10 a.m., there was no answer. It wasn't until 2:20 a.m., with witnesses present, that they forced entry, finding Weissmann dead, the bolt still thrown. Marta's task was clear: not how someone entered, but when someone had already been there. In the dim corridors of the Orient Express, where the air smelled of coal smoke and cold metal, Marta Szekely moved with purpose. Her observations, her understanding of human nature, would be the keys to unlocking this mystery. As she prepared to confront the Baroness, she knew that the truth lay not in the locked door, but in the stories that each passenger carried, stories that would finally be brought into the light. The dining car of the Orient Express is a study in contrasts. The rich scent of roasted meats and freshly baked bread fills the air, mingling with the sharper notes of fine wines. The clinking of cutlery against porcelain is a symphony of civility, a genteel backdrop to the undercurrents of tension that ripple beneath the surface. As Marta Szekely steps into this opulent cocoon, she becomes acutely aware of the social dynamics at play. Each interaction a potential clue to the underlying animosities that might hold the key to Dr. Otto Weissmann's murder. Seated at the center of this tableau is the poised Baroness Ilse von Raben, her every gesture a calculated exercise in control. Her eyes, sharp and discerning, flit across the room, taking stock of her fellow passengers. Across from her sits Henri Valois, the ambitious journalist whose probing questions and thinly veiled barbs suggest a man eager to uncover secrets. Their exchange is a dance of words, each phrase a thrust or parry in a battle for dominance. Nearby, Father Andrei Petrescu observes the proceedings with a quiet intensity. His gaze, though seemingly benign, misses nothing. He is a man accustomed to listening, to understanding the unspoken tensions that linger in the spaces between words. Victor Kessel, on the other hand, is a study in opportunism. His attempts to ingratiate himself with those of higher status are as transparent as they are persistent. His laughter a little too loud, his compliments a shade too effusive. Sister Magdalena Krall watches from the sidelines, her demeanor calm yet vigilant. Her eyes, like Marta's, are drawn to the subtle power plays that unfold over dinner. The Baroness's insistence on etiquette becomes a tool for control, her perfect manners a shield behind which she conceals her true intentions. Henri Valois, with his journalistic instincts, pushes boundaries, his questions probing deeper than the surface pleasantries. As an outsider, Marta's perspective is invaluable. Her unique observational skills allow her to see beyond the veneer of civility. She notes the small gestures, the fleeting glances, and the moments of tension that others might overlook. Her internal monologue reveals her growing understanding of the social dynamics, as she begins to piece together the connections between the suspects and their potential motives. One thing that becomes clear is the delicate balance of power that governs these interactions. Consider also the way the Baroness uses her charm to keep others at bay, her words laced with a subtle menace that is both disarming and unsettling. The deciding factor is not what is said, but what is left unsaid, the pauses and silences that speak volumes about the true nature of these relationships. Marta senses that the train, once a symbol of luxury and escape, has become a pressure cooker of secrets and lies. Each character harbors their own grievances, and as the blizzard outside intensifies, so does the storm within. The tension is palpable, a living, breathing entity that threatens to consume them all. As the evening progresses, Marta's observations take on a new urgency. She becomes increasingly aware of the stakes involved, the realization dawning that understanding the social dynamics is key to solving the murder. Her resolve strengthens, a determination to delve deeper into the relationships aboard the train, knowing that the answer lies not just in the physical evidence, but in the hidden tensions and unspoken truths. This realization sets the stage for the next chapter, where Marta will begin her investigation in earnest. She will unravel the mystery one interaction at a time, piecing together the puzzle of Dr. Weissmann's death with the keen eye of a seasoned investigator. The journey promises to be fraught with challenges, but Marta is undeterred, her focus unwavering. In this subchapter, the emotional journey is one of mounting tension and intrigue, as readers are drawn into the complex world of the Orient Express. Every gesture and word holds potential significance, each interaction a clue to the underlying animosities that simmer beneath the surface. It is a world where manners and civility mask deeper truths, and where the key to solving the mystery lies not just in what is visible, but in what is hidden from view. Chapter 3. The Courtesy Visit. The gentle clink of glass punctuated the silence as Baroness Ilse von Raben entered Dr. Otto Weissmann's compartment. Her visit was a study in perfect etiquette, a dance of courtesy and precision. She moved with a grace that seemed almost rehearsed, her every gesture a testament to her noble upbringing. The compartment, dimly lit and intimate, felt like a stage set for a drama yet to unfold. As the train creaked and groaned against the relentless Carpathian blizzard, the Baroness insisted on serving Weissmann a cordial herself, a seemingly innocuous act that would later unravel the mystery. The cordial glass, distinct from the dining service, was left behind like a subtle signature, a clue hidden in plain sight. Her insistence on manners, on who should pour and when to leave, was more than just habit, it was strategy. Weissmann, unaware of the danger in his drink, accepted the hospitality with a nod, oblivious to the undercurrents swirling around him. The atmosphere was tense, the air thick with unspoken histories and unacknowledged truths. Outside, the snow pressed against the windows, turning the world into a silent white abyss. This courtesy visit, so meticulously executed, would become the linchpin of Marta Seckley's investigation. As she later pieced together the events of that evening, the Baroness's impeccable manners emerged not as a shield of respectability, but as a weapon of precision. In the quiet violence of perfect courtesy, Marta found the thread that would unravel the locked room mystery aboard the Orient Express, setting the scene. The Orient Express, a symbol of opulence and adventure, now stood immobilized amidst a raging blizzard. The train, a masterpiece of velvet and brass, felt more like a gilded cage as the howling wind outside contrasted sharply with the muffled tension within. The corridors, dimly lit by flickering lamps, exuded an air of claustrophobia. The once inviting warmth of the compartments had turned stifling near the pipes and freezing near the outer walls, trapping passengers in a cocoon of unease. Coal smoke mingled with the scent of wool, creating an atmosphere heavy with anticipation and unspoken fears. The arrival of the Baroness. It was in this setting that Baroness Ilse von Raben made her entrance. Her arrival was marked by an aura of elegance and authority, her every step a testament to her poise. The Baroness was dressed impeccably, her attire a symphony of rich fabrics and subtle hues that spoke of both taste and power. As she approached Dr. Otto Weissmann's compartment, her presence commanded attention, and her reputation preceded her as a woman of mystery and influence. Her meticulous appearance was not merely for show, it was a weapon, wielded with precision. The courteous exchange inside Weissmann's compartment, the atmosphere was intimate yet charged. The Baroness's visit was ostensibly a courtesy call, yet every word exchanged was laden with double meanings and veiled intentions. She offered Weissmann a cordial glass with a practiced grace, her insistence on impeccable etiquette evident in every gesture. Weissmann accepted the glass with a hint of hesitation, a subtle acknowledgement of the underlying currents between them. The cordial glass, an anomaly in the otherwise pristine setting, clinked softly, echoing the tension in the room. Subtle clues. The glass was not part of the dining service, a detail that did not escape notice. Its presence was a subtle clue, a deviation from the norm that hinted at deeper machinations. The sound of the glass clinking and the distant creak of the rails served as auditory markers of the scene's tension. Weissmann's demeanor shifted slightly, a flicker of unease crossing his features as he engaged in polite conversation with the Baroness. The air was thick with unspoken tensions, the past weaving its way into the present through their carefully crafted dialogue. The unspoken tensions. As their conversation unfolded, the Baroness skillfully navigated the social dynamics, probing Weissmann's vulnerabilities with a deft touch. Her words were a dance of etiquette and intrigue, revealing glimpses of their shared past and the animosities that lay beneath the surface. The tension between them was palpable, a silent battle fought with words and manners. The Baroness's strategic use of courtesy was both a shield and a weapon, her polished exterior concealing the depths of her true intentions. The departure. With a graceful exit, the Baroness left behind an air of unresolved tension. Her visit, though brief, had left an indelible mark, setting the stage for the unfolding mystery. Her impeccable manners and strategic use of etiquette were not mere affectations. They were tools, wielded with precision to control the narrative and obscure the truth. As the door closed behind her, the sense of unease lingered, a testament to the power of her presence and the secrets she carried. Marta's observations. From her vantage point, Marta Sheckley watched the Baroness's departure with keen interest. Marta, a master of observation, noted the significance of the visit, recognizing the potential clues hidden in the Baroness's actions and words. Her sharp mind catalogued the details, from the non-dining cordial glass to the subtle shifts in Weissmann's demeanor. Marta's instincts told her that this encounter was more than a simple courtesy visit. It was a piece of a larger puzzle, one that she was determined to solve. Bridging to the next chapter, as the train remained trapped in the Carpathian snow, Marta's suspicion and determination grew. The Baroness's visit had left more questions than answers, and Marta was resolved to delve deeper into the mystery. Her mind raced with possibilities, piecing together the fragments of information to uncover the truth. The narrative smoothly transitioned to the subsequent investigation, with Marta poised to unravel the implications of the Baroness's visit and the enigma of the locked room scenario. This subchapter laid the foundation for the mystery, introducing key elements and characters that would drive the plot forward. The emotional journey was marked by tension, intrigue, and the subtle interplay of manners and deception, leaving readers eager to uncover the truth behind the Baroness's courtesy visit. The wind howled outside, a relentless force battering the windows of the Orient Express, while inside, the atmosphere was one of tense confinement. The train, once a symbol of luxury and escape, now felt like a gilded cage trapped in the Carpathian Mountains' icy grip. Flickering lamps cast long shadows across the velvet and brass interior, creating an eerie dance of light and dark that mirrored the secrets hidden within its compartments. The air was thick with the smell of coal smoke, mingling with the dampness of wet wool and cold metal, a sensory tapestry that set the stage for the mystery unfolding. Marta Sheckley, the astute investigator, walked the dimly lit corridors with a keen eye. Her mind replayed the Baroness's recent visit to Dr. Otto Weissmann's compartment, a visit that now seemed laden with unspoken implications. As she moved, Marta noticed the slight indentation on the carpet outside Weissmann's door, an indication that someone had lingered there longer than necessary. It was a subtle clue, easily overlooked by most, but not by Marta, whose experience had taught her to read the language of human behavior and its physical traces. Her thoughts drifted to the unusual presence of a non-dining cordial glass in Weissmann's room. It was a small detail, but its significance loomed large in Marta's mind. Why would such a glass be there, if not for a deliberate reason? The Baroness, with her impeccable manners, had insisted on serving a drink herself during her visit. The glass, a symbol of her meticulous etiquette, hinted at a deeper layer of the mystery. Marta pondered its role, considering the possibility that it was more than just a courtesy gesture. As Marta continued her investigation, she encountered other passengers, each interaction peeling back layers of their characters and potential motives. In the dining car, the Baroness sat with an air of calm composure, yet Marta sensed an underlying tension in her demeanor. The Baroness's perfect manners were not just a trait, but a carefully crafted facade, one that Marta was determined to see through. Meanwhile, Father Andrei Petrescu's furtive glances and quiet demeanor suggested he knew more than he was willing to share, adding another layer of intrigue to the unfolding drama. It was during one of these interactions that Marta noticed a crucial detail, a faint scent of almonds lingering near the cordial glass, a possible hint of poison. This discovery was a turning point, solidifying her suspicions and leading her to reconsider the Baroness's actions and the implications of her visit. The scent was subtle, almost imperceptible, yet it was enough to set Marta's mind racing, piecing together the clues that pointed towards a deliberate act of murder. The tension on the train was palpable, with passengers growing restless as the blizzard continued to rage outside. Whispers filled the corridors, sideways glances exchanged in the dim light, creating an atmosphere of distrust and unease. Marta felt the pressure mounting, aware that time was of the essence. The longer the train remained stalled, the more dangerous the situation became, and the more urgent her task to unravel the mystery. Amidst this growing suspense, Marta grappled with her internal struggle. Her role as an investigator required her to remain objective, yet the personal stakes were high. The weight of her suspicions against the Baroness threatened to cloud her judgment, a battle between her professional duty and the emotions stirred by the unfolding drama. It was a delicate balance, one that Marta was determined to maintain as she sought the truth. The subchapter concluded with Marta standing outside the Baroness's compartment, her resolve firm. She knew that confronting the Baroness was the next step, but she also understood the need to tread carefully. The stage was set for the next chapter, where Marta would delve deeper into the web of deception and uncover the truths hidden beneath the veneer of civility. The subtle clues had emerged, each one a piece of the puzzle that Marta was determined to solve, bringing her ever closer to the heart of the mystery. The wind howled outside the halted Orient Express, a chilling reminder of the blizzard that had transformed this journey of luxury into one of confinement. Marta Shekeli stood before the closed door of Dr. Otto Weissmann's compartment, the air around her thick with tension and the promise of secrets waiting to be uncovered. The train's silence was punctuated only by the occasional creak of the carriages, amplifying the sense of isolation. Marta's eyes were drawn to the lock on the door, a sturdy mechanism that showed no signs of tampering. This detail immediately set her mind racing, as the implications of a murder occurring in such a secure space defied logic. Inside, the room was a study in opulence, with rich fabrics and polished wood, yet the atmosphere was claustrophobic, overshadowed by the grim reality of Weissmann's lifeless body. As she stepped inside, Marta was enveloped by the lingering scent of expensive cologne, mingling with the metallic tang of blood, a sensory detail that hinted at the violence hidden beneath the room's veneer of luxury. Her gaze fell on a cordial glass on the small table beside Weissmann's body, its contents untouched. This seemingly innocuous detail became a pivotal clue, connecting to the Baroness's earlier visit and her insistence on perfect etiquette. In the quiet of the compartment, Marta's thoughts turned inward, reflecting on the nature of appearances versus reality. She considered the Baroness's demeanor during her visit, her practiced grace potentially masking malice. This train of thought was interrupted by a subtle observation, a faint impression on the plush carpet, suggesting that someone had stood there longer than necessary, perhaps in hesitation or contemplation. Marta's investigation was methodical yet intuitive, her movements deliberate as she pieced together the timeline of the evening. She reconstructed the sequence of events, from the last confirmed sighting of Weissmann alive to the moment his body was discovered. Her analysis was punctuated by flashbacks to interactions with other passengers, each carrying their own secrets and potential motives. The narrative crescendoed as Marta uncovered a crucial inconsistency in the train's registry. hinting at the presence of an elusive, unregistered passenger. This revelation added another layer to the mystery, complicating the locked room scenario further. The emotional journey of this subchapter was one of growing tension and intrigue. Readers were drawn into Marta's world, experiencing her frustration and determination as she navigated the complexities of human behavior and the physical constraints of the train. The locked room scenario was not just a puzzle to be solved, but a reflection of the broader themes of deception, power, and the facades people maintain. As the subchapter concluded, Marta steeled herself for the challenges ahead, her resolve fueled by the knowledge that the truth was buried beneath layers of courtesy and concealment. This set the stage for the unfolding drama, ensuring a seamless transition into the next phase of the investigation. One thing that becomes clear as Marta delves deeper into the mystery is the significance of the cordial glass. It was not part of the dinner service, a fact confirmed by the steward, which indicated a private offering. The timing of Weissmann's death, estimated to occur well after he retired, suggested a delayed administration of poison rather than a midnight intrusion. This pointed to the cordial as the method of delivery, cleverly timed to implicate no one. Consider also the role of manners and etiquette in this locked room mystery. The Baroness's insistence on narrating etiquette, who should pour when a lady may enter, how long a visit should last, was not just a display of social grace. Marta recognized it as stage setting, a way to control the narrative and mask true intentions. This observation was crucial in piecing together the events leading up to Weissmann's death. The important thing to remember is that in this confined setting, every action, every word, and every gesture carried weight. The snow outside pressed against the windows, turning the world beyond into a white silence, while inside, the passengers' whispers and guarded glances revealed the cracks in their composed facades. As Marta continued her investigation, she encountered red herrings that threatened to derail her progress. Snow tracked in the corridor suggested traffic near Weissmann's door, but it was merely general movement during the stoppage, not a direct trail. Similarly, the argument between Weissmann and his associate Victor Kessel appeared damning at first, yet it was rooted in financial desperation, not murder. Marta's journey through this locked room scenario was not just about uncovering the truth behind Weissmann's death. It was also a psychological exploration of space and character, revealing how the physical constraints of the train mirrored the emotional and moral constraints of its passengers. The Orient Express, with its dim corridors and rationed heat, became a microcosm of old Europe, a place where polite certainty was the first casualty. As the investigation progressed, Marta's observations led her to focus on the Baroness as a key suspect. Her perfect manners were not merely a trait, but a practiced tool, used to deflect suspicion and maintain control. The Baroness's access to rare medicines through her charitable hospital work provided the means, while her motive was rooted in revenge and the need to contain Weissmann's buried wartime crimes that entangled her family name. The advantages of Marta's methodical approach were evident as she pieced together the timeline and behavior logic, ultimately leading to the revelation of the Baroness's role in Weissmann's death. The locked room scenario, with its intricate details and psychological depth, was not just a puzzle to be solved, but a reflection of the broader themes of deception, power, and the facades people maintain. The chapter concluded with Marta preparing to confront the Baroness, her resolve strengthened by the knowledge that the truth was within reach. The snowbound train remained trapped, but justice was set in motion, and the unraveling of Weissmann's past crimes promised to bring closure to the mystery. Chapter 4. The Door That Proves Nothing. The train shuddered to a halt, steam hissing into the frozen air. Inside, the once grand corridors of the Orient Express were now dimly lit, the warmth of velvet and brass reduced to cold metal and whispers. Dr. Otto Weissmann's body lay in his locked compartment, the door bolted from the inside. The conductor and the doctor were the first to witness the scene, their breath visible in the frigid air. No sign of forced entry, no struggle, just silence. Marta Sheckley stepped into the compartment, her keen eyes scanning the room. The scene seemed impossible, yet it was the timeline that intrigued her. She began piecing together the evening's events, her mind a ledger of human behavior. The key was not in how someone entered, but when they were already there. She noted the cordial glass, a detail out of place, and the timing of Weissmann's death. A delayed poison, she mused, slipped into the cordial during a visit. As she reconstructed the timeline, Marta considered the concept of a missing passenger. A name overheard, a figure glimpsed, a passenger who didn't appear on the registry. This added another layer to the mystery, a shadowy presence that refused to settle. Marta's thoughts turned to the Baroness, whose impeccable manners seemed more a weapon than a habit. Her insistence on etiquette, on who should pour and when, was a stage setting, not instinct. The door proved nothing, Marta realized. It was the human element, the timing and the unspoken, that would unravel this mystery. Experience indicated that people did not become monsters in a moment. They built polite stories around ugly deeds. The train lay still, a giant slumbering beast caught in the icy grip of the Carpathian Mountains. Snow whispered against the windows of the Orient Express, a relentless hush that seemed to absorb all sound. Inside, the corridors were dim, lit only by the flickering lamps that cast long shadows against the velvet and brass. It was in this uneasy silence that the first ripple of disturbance broke the surface. Marta shakily stood in the narrow passageway, her breath visible in the cold air. She was a woman accustomed to reading between the lines, to seeing what others missed. As a claims adjuster for a European railway insurance syndicate, her expertise lay in unraveling the stories hidden within systems and schedules. But here, on this halted train, she was faced with a mystery of a different nature. The discovery of Dr. Otto Weissmann's body had transformed the luxurious compartment into a scene of unsettling intrigue. Picture this: a first-class compartment, door locked from the inside, the bolt securely thrown. No sign of forced entry, no struggle. Just the stillness of a man who had once been a celebrated Viennese philanthropist, now lying lifeless. The air was thick with the scent of coal smoke and wool, mingling with the metallic chill that seeped in through the windows. It was a scene that demanded answers, and Marta was determined to find them. The discovery had been made in the early hours, a time when the train was enveloped in darkness and the passengers were lulled into a false sense of security. The conductor, a man of stoic demeanor, had been the first to sense something amiss. When his knocks went unanswered, he had used the master key, only to find the bolt blocking entry. It was a locked room mystery in the truest sense, and one that required careful consideration. As Marta began her investigation, she was acutely aware of the social dynamics at play. The passengers, a collection of Europe's elite, were now bound together by circumstance. Whispers filled the corridors, and polite smiles masked the undercurrent of suspicion. The air was charged with tension, a fragile veneer of civility barely concealing the cracks beneath. Weissmann's death was not just a puzzle of locks and keys, it was a mystery of people. His reputation as a philanthropist was well known, but Marta understood that such facades often hid darker truths. Her wartime experience had taught her that reputations could be carefully constructed, stories woven to conceal rather than reveal. In this case, the past was not just a shadow but a stain, one that threatened to unravel the carefully maintained image of the deceased. As she pieced together the timeline of that fateful night, Marta noted the subtleties that others might overlook. The cordial glass, for instance, was not from the dining service. It was a private offering, one that hinted at a more intimate interaction. The timing of Weissmann's death, estimated by the doctor aboard, suggested a delayed poison rather than a midnight intrusion. These were clues that spoke not of brute force but of calculated intent. Her suspicions began to circle around Baroness Ilse von Raben, a woman whose impeccable manners seemed almost too precise. During the courtesy visit earlier in the evening, the Baroness had insisted on serving the cordial herself, a gesture that Marta recognized as more than mere etiquette. It was a stage setting, a way to control the narrative through the guise of politeness. The Baroness's perfect manners were not just a trait but a practiced tool, one that Marta understood could be used to mask the truth. As she interviewed the other passengers, Marta observed their behaviors with a keen eye. Each suspect had their own motives and means, but it was the Baroness's insistence on narrating etiquette that stood out. Her actions were too deliberate, too rehearsed. It was a performance, one that Marta was determined to see through. The mystery of the unregistered passenger added another layer of complexity. A name overheard, a figure glimpsed once and then never again. It was a thread that Marta knew she had to follow, for in such mysteries, it was often the overlooked details that held the key to the truth. The conductor's confession of a favor done at the border hinted at a hidden presence, one that might yet reveal itself. As the investigation unfolded, Marta's understanding of the social dynamics deepened. The train, once a symbol of luxury and escape, had become a microcosm of old Europe, with its secrets and tensions laid bare. The corridors, dimly lit and filled with the scent of coal smoke, were now spaces of whispered conversations and guarded glances. It was a setting that demanded careful navigation, one that Marta approached with both caution and determination. The true nature of Weissmann's past began to surface, his wartime dealings casting a long shadow over the present. It was a past that entangled not just him, but those around him, including the Baroness, whose family name was intertwined with buried war crimes. The motive for murder was not just personal, but deeply rooted in history, a desire to prevent the past from coming to light. In the end, it was the small details that led Marta to the truth. The cordial glass, the timing of the visit, the Baroness's meticulous manners, all pointed to a carefully orchestrated plan. As Marta gathered the passengers in the salon to present her findings, the tension in the air was palpable. The snow continued to fall outside, a relentless reminder of their confinement. But inside, the truth was finally being unveiled. With calm authority, Marta laid out the timeline and behavior logic, exposing the Baroness's role in Weissmann's death. It was a revelation that shook the foundations of the train's social order, but it was also a moment of justice. The past, with all its buried crimes and concealed truths, had finally been brought into the light. As the dawn broke over the snowbound landscape, Marta reflected on the nature of courtesy and deception. The train remained trapped, but the mystery had been solved, and justice was set in motion. In the quiet aftermath, Marta knew that the lessons of the past would continue to resonate, a reminder that beneath the veneer of politeness, the truth always found a way to emerge. Opening scene. The discovery. The air was biting cold, and the breath of the conductor and the train's doctor hung like ghostly apparitions in the dim corridor. They stood outside Weissmann's compartment, exchanging worried glances. The door was locked from the inside, and an unsettling stillness pervaded the space beyond it. The conductor, a man of routine and precision, found himself unnerved by the implications. Just then, Marta Sheckley arrived, her presence calm yet commanding. With a quick assessment, she noted the bolted door and the absence of any signs of forced entry. This was her first test on the Orient Express, and she knew she must approach it with both logic and intuition. Initial observations. Stepping into the compartment, Marta was greeted by the dim glow of a lamp casting long shadows over the scene. Weissmann's body was slumped in his seat, a look of surprise etched on his face. Her eyes were drawn to the untouched cordial glass and the subtle scent of almonds in the air, a telltale sign of poison. The compartment was meticulously tidy, with nothing seemingly out of place, yet Marta sensed an underlying tension in the room. The atmosphere was thick with unspoken words and hidden intentions, as if the very walls were whispering secrets. Establishing the timeline, Marta began piecing together a timeline, speaking with the conductor and other staff to determine the last time Weissmann was seen alive. She learned about the Baroness's visit and the cordial glass, details that seemed innocuous but could hold deeper significance. The conversation with the conductor revealed the train's halt due to the blizzard, adding to the sense of confinement and urgency. Each piece of information was a thread in a larger tapestry, one that Marta was determined to unravel. Introduction of the missing passenger. The conductor hesitantly mentioned an unregistered passenger, a shadowy figure glimpsed only briefly. This revelation added a layer of complexity to the puzzle, hinting at hidden agendas and unseen movements aboard the train. Marta's mind raced with possibilities, the missing passenger becoming a crucial piece in her developing theory. The notion of someone slipping through the cracks of the train's otherwise impeccable registry was both intriguing and alarming. Connecting the dots, Marta reflected on the social dynamics aboard the train, considering the roles and relationships of the key suspects. She noted the tensions and alliances, the whispered conversations and sidelong glances exchanged in the corridors. Her thoughts returned to the Baroness, whose insistence on etiquette and the non-dining cordial glass suggested a calculated move. The train, once a symbol of escape, now felt like a pressure cooker of old grievances and new betrayals, emotional undercurrents. As Marta delved deeper into her investigation, she felt the weight of the past pressing in. The train, once a symbol of escape, now felt like a pressure cooker of old grievances and new betrayals. She was reminded of her own past, her motivations for seeking justice, and the personal stakes involved in solving this mystery. The echoes of wartime atrocities and the shadows of unresolved guilt loomed large, coloring every interaction and observation. Closing scene. The first clue. The subchapter concluded with Marta finding a subtle clue overlooked by others, a small, seemingly insignificant item that suggested a connection between the missing passenger and Weissmann. This discovery reignited her determination, setting the stage for the next phase of her investigation and leaving readers eager to see how she would unravel the tangled web of deceit. The train, trapped in a blizzard, was a microcosm of old Europe, with its secrets and sins laid bare for those who dared to look closely. The missing passenger concept. The rhythmic clatter of the train wheels against the tracks was a comforting sound, a mechanical heartbeat that momentarily drowned the whispers of suspicion and fear. Yet, amidst the familiar noise, Marta Sheckley caught an unfamiliar thread, a hushed conversation between the conductor and the onboard doctor. The words "unregistered passenger" hung in the air like a ghostly presence, sparking Marta's curiosity and setting the stage for an investigation that would unravel the carefully woven tapestry of deceit aboard the Orient Express. Introduction of the missing passenger. As the train snaked through the Carpathian Mountains, halted by a blizzard that turned luxury into confinement, Marta approached the conductor with a calm persistence that belied her racing thoughts. Under the weight of her steady gaze, the conductor confessed. He had allowed a favor at the border, an unregistered passenger, a shadow without a name or a berth, who slipped into the train's belly unnoticed by all but the most observant. This revelation added a new layer of complexity to the locked-room mystery of Dr. Otto Weissmann's murder. Marta's investigation, armed with this new piece of information, Marta embarked on a discreet investigation. She moved through the train with purpose, her eyes scanning the faces of passengers, noting any unusual behaviors or interactions. Her small notebook of carriage diagrams became an invaluable tool, allowing her to cross-reference the train's registry with her observations. She counted footsteps in the corridors, seeking any discrepancies or anomalies that might indicate the presence of someone not officially accounted for. Her efforts soon bore fruit. A discarded piece of luggage, unclaimed and anonymous, hinted at the presence of the missing passenger. It was a subtle clue, easily overlooked, but Marta's keen eye caught it. She recalled overhearing a name whispered in the corridor, a name that now seemed linked to this enigmatic individual. Clues and red herrings. The investigation was fraught with both clues and red herrings. A soldier's medal discovered in the pocket of a staff member's coat suggested a military connection, yet it was unclear how this fit into the larger puzzle. Marta's mind raced with possibilities. Could the missing passenger have been a soldier, perhaps someone with a vendetta against Weissmann? Or was the medal merely a relic of a past life, unconnected to the murder? Passenger dynamics and tensions. As Marta engaged in conversations with key suspects, she observed the social dynamics aboard the train becoming increasingly strained. Suspicions and accusations began to surface among the passengers, each glance or whispered word another thread in the tangled web of intrigue. Marta's interactions were carefully crafted, her questions subtle yet probing, designed to elicit reactions or slips that might reveal knowledge of the missing passenger. Each conversation was a dance of manners and deception, the polite veneer of civility barely concealing the underlying tension. The air was thick with unspoken accusations, and Marta had to navigate these treacherous waters with care. Marta's deduction. Through careful analysis and deduction, Marta began to form a theory about the missing passenger's role in the murder. She considered the possibility that the unregistered passenger might have been present in Weissmann's compartment before the door was locked, complicating the timeline of events. This unseen hand in the unfolding drama added a new dimension to the mystery, challenging Marta to rethink her assumptions and piece together the subtle clues that pointed toward the truth, bridged to next chapter. Marta's growing understanding of the missing passenger set the stage for further revelations in the subsequent chapter. As the train remained trapped in the snowbound wilderness, the mystery deepened, and Marta resolved to uncover the truth about the unregistered passenger and their connection to Weissmann's murder. The subchapter concluded with Marta's determination solidifying, her path forward clear even amidst the swirling uncertainty. The emotional journey of this subchapter was one of mounting suspense, each revelation bringing Marta closer to unraveling the complex web of deceit that surrounded Weissmann's death. The missing passenger concept was not just a mystery of logistics, but a mystery of people. And Marta's relentless pursuit of the truth promised to shed light on the darkest corners of the human heart. Chapter 5, Manners as a Mask. The train's corridors echoed with whispers, a symphony of etiquette masking the tension beneath. Marta Sheckley, ever the observer, moved through these tight spaces, her eyes keenly noting the subtleties of behavior. The Baroness Ilse von Raben, with her flawless manners, stood out. Her every gesture seemed choreographed, each smile a practiced performance. It was as if she wore her etiquette like a mask, one that concealed more than it revealed. Marta began her interviews, starting with the Baroness. The conversation was a dance of pleasantries, but Marta's instincts told her there was more beneath the surface. The Baroness's insistence on serving drinks herself was a detail that lingered in Marta's mind, a piece of a larger puzzle. Her suspicions deepened as she observed how the Baroness controlled the narrative with her impeccable courtesy, steering conversations away from uncomfortable truths. In the dimly lit corridors, the atmosphere was one of controlled panic. Polite whispers filled the air, yet the tension was palpable. As Marta continued her investigation, she noticed how etiquette was wielded as a tool, a way to maintain composure and deflect suspicion. The Baroness's perfect manners were not just a personal trait, but a strategic weapon, one that kept others at bay while hiding her true intentions. As the train remained halted, snow pressing against the windows, Marta's understanding of the social dynamics deepened. The Baroness, with her polished veneer, became the focal point of Marta's scrutiny. It was clear that behind the mask of manners lay a calculated mind, one capable of using etiquette to manipulate and deceive. This realization was a step closer to unraveling the mystery of Dr. Weissmann's death. Marta Sheckley stood in the narrow corridor of the halted Orient Express, the muted clatter of the train's interior echoing around her. The air was thick with the scent of coal smoke and the faint, lingering aroma of dinner. Her senses were sharpened, every nerve attuned to the subtle cues that might unravel the mystery of Dr. Otto Weissmann's death. As she prepared to interview the passengers, Marta knew that the art of observation would be her most potent tool. It was not merely about the words spoken, but the silences in between, the gestures that accompanied them, and the etiquette that could either conceal or reveal truths. Her first stop was the compartment of Baroness Ilse von Raben. The Baroness greeted her with a poised smile, her manners impeccable, her eyes steady. As they settled into the plush confines of the compartment, the Baroness insisted on serving tea, a ritual that seemed more about control than hospitality. Marta watched closely, noting the deliberate grace with which the Baroness poured the tea, her choice of words precise and measured. Each gesture was a calculated performance, designed to deflect rather than disclose. The Baroness's insistence on etiquette was a mask, one that Marta was determined to peel away. Next, Marta moved to the compartment of Henri Valois, a French businessman whose charm was as polished as his appearance. Yet beneath the affable exterior, Marta sensed a tension, a flicker of something concealed. As they spoke, Valois' responses were smooth, but his occasional slips in composure hinted at deeper layers. His connection to Weissmann seemed fraught with complexities that he was keen to hide. Marta mentally catalogued his inconsistencies, aware that they might hold the key to understanding his true role in the unfolding drama. Father Andrei Petrescu presented a different challenge. The The Romanian priest's calm demeanor was tinged with a sorrow that seemed to weigh on his words. His responses were thoughtful, measured, yet Marta could not shake the feeling that he carried a burden of knowledge he was reluctant to share. His genuine concern for the passengers' well-being was evident, but Marta knew that sincerity could also be a cloak for hidden motives. She probed gently, seeking to uncover any cracks in his pious exterior that might reveal more than he intended. Victor Kessel was a stark contrast to the other passengers. Gruff and reclusive, his reluctance to engage in conversation was palpable. Marta sensed that his brusque manner was a shield, protecting vulnerabilities or secrets he was unwilling to expose. As she questioned him about Weissmann's past, she noted a flicker of emotion, a reaction that hinted at a deeper connection. Kessel's reticence was a barrier, but one that Marta was determined to breach in her quest for the truth. Finally, Marta sat with Sister Magdalena Kroll, whose serene presence belied a sharp intellect. The nun's observations of the passengers were astute, her insights into human nature invaluable. As they spoke, Sister Magdalena offered subtle hints about the Baroness's interactions with others, adding layers to Marta's growing suspicion. The nun's ability to see beyond the surface provided Marta with perspectives that were both enlightening and unsettling. As Marta navigated the confined space of the train, the tension was palpable. The corridors, dimly lit and filled with whispers, amplified the sense of controlled panic. Each interview deepened Marta's understanding of the passengers' hidden motives, the intricate social dynamics that underscored the mystery. The use of manners as a mask was a recurring theme, one that resonated throughout her investigation. It was a dance of civility, where each step could either reveal or conceal the truth. Reflecting on the insights gained from her interviews, Marta's suspicion of the Baroness solidified. The Baroness's perfect manners were not merely a trait, but a practiced tool, a way to manipulate the narrative to her advantage. The stage was set for further revelations, as Marta prepared to delve deeper into the mystery. Armed with new knowledge and a sharpened intuition, she was ready to confront the secrets hidden beneath the veneer of politeness. The reality was stark. The Orient Express, once a symbol of luxury and escape, had become a microcosm of old Europe, with its secrets and shadows. As snow pressed against the windows, turning the outside world into a white silence, Marta knew that the answers lay within the confines of the train. It was a mystery of people, of the stories they told and the truths they hid. And Marta was determined to uncover them all. Opening scene. Marta Sheckley sat in the dining car of the halted Orient Express, her eyes discreetly observing the passengers around her. The atmosphere was a delicate balance of tension and civility. The clinking of silverware against porcelain and the rustle of newspapers created a symphony of normalcy, masking the anxiety that simmered beneath the surface. Marta found this facade both fascinating and deceptive, a perfect setting for the drama unfolding around her. Character observations. Her focus settled on Baroness Ilse von Raben, a woman whose every gesture seemed meticulously crafted. The Baroness engaged in conversation with Henri Valois, her laughter a touch too precise, her compliments perfectly timed. Marta noted how the Baroness's etiquette served as a shield, deflecting any probing questions about the night of the murder. It was as if every word and movement were part of a well-rehearsed play, designed to keep her true intentions hidden. Subtle interactions. As breakfast progressed, Marta noticed a subtle interaction between the Baroness and Father Andrei Petrescu. A shared glance, a slight nod, and the exchange of a small note under the guise of passing a sugar bowl. This brief but telling moment piqued Marta's curiosity, prompting her to make a mental note to investigate further. It was clear that beneath the polished veneer of civility, secrets were being exchanged, the art of conversation. Turning her attention to Victor Kessel, Marta engaged him in conversation, skillfully steering the topic towards the Baroness. Though guarded, Victor revealed that the Baroness was known for using her charm and etiquette to manipulate social situations to her advantage. He recounted an incident at a charity event where the Baroness had swayed opinions with her impeccable manners, leaving Marta to ponder the power of etiquette as a tool of deception, revelation of deception. Marta reflected on how etiquette was being wielded as a tool of deception. She recalled previous interactions with the Baroness and others, piecing together how manners and social graces were employed to obscure truths and manipulate perceptions. Her suspicion of the Baroness deepened as she realized that every polite gesture and courteous word was part of a larger strategy. The Baroness's perfect manners were not merely a trait, but a practiced tool, building tension. The confined space of the train amplified the tension, with whispers and glances exchanged in the narrow corridors. Marta felt the weight of the passengers' collective anxiety, each person hiding behind their own facade of decorum. The train, once a symbol of luxury, now felt like a gilded cage where secrets festered beneath the surface. The air, thick with the scent of coal smoke and wool, seemed to press down on the passengers, heightening the sense of unease. Conclusion and transition. With her observations crystallized into a coherent picture, Marta made a decision to confront the Baroness directly. She had gathered enough evidence of the Baroness's manipulative use of etiquette and prepared herself for a confrontation that would test her own skills in navigating the complex social dynamics aboard the train. As she rose from her seat, the scene transitioned smoothly into the next part of the chapter, where Marta's confrontation with the Baroness would unfold, setting the stage for further revelations and escalating tension. This subchapter deepens the reader's understanding of the character's motivations and the role of etiquette as a tool for manipulation. It builds on the theme of deception, highlighting Marta's growing awareness of the social dynamics at play, and sets the stage for pivotal confrontations in the unfolding mystery. The intricate dance of manners and deceit becomes a central focus, drawing readers into the web of intrigue that surrounds the murder on the Orient Express. The dining car of the halted Orient Express was a study in contrasts. Outside, the Carpathian blizzard howled, pressing snow against the windows like a relentless specter. Inside, the dim glow of the lamps cast a soft light over the polished silverware and crisp white linens. It was here, amidst the clinking of cutlery and murmured conversations, that Marta Sheckley sat with the enigmatic Baroness Ilse von Raben, her mind a web of intrigue and suspicion. Marta had spent the morning meticulously reviewing her notes, her thoughts circling back to the Baroness. The woman's impeccable manners seemed too perfect, too rehearsed, as if they served a dual purpose, a shield to guard her true intentions and a weapon to deflect probing questions. Now, as they sat across from each other, Marta was determined to pierce through that polished exterior. The Baroness was a vision of composed elegance, her posture impeccable, her gaze steady. She exuded an air of calm that belied the storm of tension swirling around the train. As Marta engaged her in conversation, she noted the Baroness's calculated pauses, the way she deflected questions with charm and grace. Each response was a carefully choreographed dance, revealing nothing yet suggesting everything. "The snow is relentless, isn't it?" Marta began, setting the stage with an innocuous observation. "Indeed," the Baroness replied smoothly, her voice a melodic blend of accents. "It seems we are trapped in a winter wonderland, albeit an inconvenient one." Marta smiled, acknowledging the artful dodge. "And yet, such confinement gives us time to reflect, don't you think? Time to consider the nuances of our fellow travelers." "Reflection is a luxury," the Baroness said, her eyes flickering with something Marta couldn't quite place. "One must be careful not to dwell too much on the past." The conversation flowed, a gentle current of words and meanings. Marta's internal monologue was a sharp contrast to the surface pleasantries. She considered how etiquette, when wielded by someone like the Baroness, could become a tool of manipulation. Perfect manners might conceal a more sinister intent, she mused, recalling instances where the Baroness's actions seemed too rehearsed, too perfect, as if she were playing a role in a grand performance. A pivotal moment arose when Marta subtly referenced the non-dining cordial glass found in Weissmann's compartment. "It's curious," she said, her tone casual, "how certain details can stand out in memory. Like a cordial glass, for instance, appearing where it shouldn't." The Baroness's reaction was almost imperceptible, a flicker in her eyes, a momentary tightening of her grip on the silver fork. But it was enough for Marta. The flicker was quickly masked by a smooth reply. Indeed, the mind does play tricks in such circumstances. Yet Marta sensed she had touched a nerve. This small detail, she felt, might be a crack in the Baroness's carefully constructed facade. As the conversation continued, her suspicion of the Baroness deepened. She began to piece together how the Baroness's charity work, her connections, and her strategic use of etiquette might align with Weissmann's death. The atmosphere in the dining car grew more tense, the walls seeming to close in as the blizzard raged outside, mirroring the storm of revelations brewing within Marta's mind. As the train remained trapped in the snow, the passengers were caught in a web of suspicion and intrigue, each whisper echoing through the corridors. Marta made a mental note to investigate the Baroness's background further. She resolved to speak with other passengers who might have insights into the Baroness's past and her true nature. Her determination was palpable, her resolve to uncover the truth unwavering. As the train continued its enforced pause, Marta's mind raced ahead. She envisioned the steps she needed to take, speaking with the conductor about any unusual entries in the passenger ledger, consulting with the doctor about the timing of the poison's effects, and finding a way to access the Baroness's luggage, perhaps under the guise of a routine customs check. Her thoughts turned to the other passengers, each with their own secrets and motives. There was Henri Valois, the French journalist, whose probing questions and sharp observations marked him as a potential ally or a dangerous adversary. Father Andrei Petrescu, the quiet Romanian priest, whose presence seemed to carry the weight of unspoken confessions. Victor Kessel, Weissmann's former associate, whose financial desperation might have driven him to desperate measures. And Sister Magdalena Kroll, the Polish nurse, whose calm demeanor belied a deep well of knowledge about life and death. Each of them had a role to play in this unfolding drama. But it was the Baroness who occupied Marta's thoughts most persistently. Her perfect manners, her strategic use of charm and grace, were not merely a trait but a practiced tool. The evidence suggested that beneath the veneer of politeness lay a calculated mind, capable of orchestrating an elaborate deception. As the dining car emptied and the train settled into an uneasy quiet, Marta lingered, her mind still sifting through the details. The core principle, she realized, was to look beyond the surface, to see through the facade of courtesy to the truths hidden beneath. The evidence was there, if only she could piece it together. She rose, her resolve firm. The truth was out there, waiting to be uncovered, and she was determined to find it, one piece at a time. As she made her way back to her compartment, the train's corridors echoed with the whispers of passengers caught in a web of suspicion and intrigue. The mystery of the Orient Express was far from over, and Marta was ready to follow the trail wherever it might lead. Chapter 6, The Missing Name. The conductor's eyes betrayed his unease as he whispered to Marta, "A favor at the border, you see." The words hung in the air like the coal smoke that clung to the train's velvet interiors. Marta's mind raced, piecing together the puzzle of the missing name, a passenger unaccounted for, yet felt in every shadowed corridor. She had noticed the discrepancy in the cabin count earlier, a detail others might dismiss. But to Marta, trained to see the invisible threads of human systems, it was a beacon. The registry showed one less passenger than the cabins occupied. The conductor's confession now added a layer of complexity, hinting at social dynamics that ran deeper than mere oversight. In the dimly lit dining car, the atmosphere was heavy with tension. Polite smiles masked the anxiety of those who sensed something amiss. As Marta sipped her unsweetened tea, she observed the interactions around her, noting how formal courtesies seemed to serve as shields rather than genuine habits. The missing name was more than a clerical error. It was a key to understanding the unfolding mystery and the hidden pasts of those aboard. With each polite nod and whispered conversation, Marta felt the weight of history pressing against the train's ornate walls. The implications of this unregistered traveler could unravel the carefully constructed facades that each passenger wore. As the snow continued to press against the train, Marta knew that solving this mystery required reading between the lines of human behavior, where omissions and courtesies concealed the truth. The missing name was not just a clue, it was the thread that could pull the entire tapestry of deceit apart. The corridors of the Orient Express were shrouded in an uneasy gloom, the kind that seemed to absorb sound and light alike. Outside, the relentless snowstorm battered the train, as if trying to bury its secrets under a thick, white silence. Inside, the passengers huddled in their compartments, the air heavy with the tension of unspoken suspicions. The train, once a symbol of luxury and escape, now felt more like a gilded cage, holding its occupants captive amidst the Carpathian wilderness. Marta Sheckley moved through the dimly lit passageways with a quiet determination. Her footsteps were soft, almost imperceptible against the carpeted floors as she counted each step in her mind, a habit from her days as a wartime records clerk. The mystery of the unregistered passenger had become her obsession, a puzzle that refused to fit together neatly. She had already spoken with the conductor, a man whose reluctance to divulge information was palpable. Yet, in a moment of pressured honesty, he had confessed to allowing an unregistered individual onto the train as a favor at the border. This revelation was the key Marta needed, a critical piece of information that shifted the entire investigation. With this new lead, Marta turned her attention to the train's registry. She meticulously compared the list of passengers against the actual count of occupied cabins. Her findings were disturbing, a clear discrepancy that could not be attributed to mere clerical error. Someone had deliberately altered the records, suggesting a conspiracy that ran deeper than she had initially suspected. This discovery added layers of intrigue to the already complex case, hinting at a network of deceit woven into the fabric of the train's social dynamics. As Marta delved deeper, she began to see the train as a microcosm of old Europe, where each passenger carried with them the weight of their pasts, hidden motives, and potential for betrayal. Her interactions with the passengers revealed subtle alliances and enmities, each conversation a dance of courtesy masking deeper intentions. The Baroness Ilse von Raben, with her impeccable manners, was a perfect example. Her insistence on etiquette seemed more like a performance than a habit, a way to control the narrative and shield her true motives. The emotional toll of the investigation began to weigh heavily on Marta. The unregistered passenger was not just a missing name. Their presence was a thread that wove through the murder of Dr. Otto Weissmann, binding together untold stories and unresolved conflicts. Marta's determination to uncover the truth was fueled by a growing sense of urgency, as the train remained trapped in the blizzard and tensions continued to escalate. Each moment felt critical, the stakes rising with every passing hour. As she pieced together the implications of the missing name, Marta's mind raced through the possibilities. The unregistered passenger could be anyone: a forgotten soldier, a disgraced noble, a shadow from the past seeking retribution. The mystery was not just about who they were, but what they represented, a connection to Weissmann's hidden history and the darker side of his philanthropic facade. In the dim light of the train's salon, Marta reviewed her notes, her mind working through the details like a clockwork mechanism. The pieces of the puzzle were beginning to align, but the full picture remained elusive. She knew she was on the verge of a breakthrough, the kind that would unravel the tightly wound threads of deceit and reveal the truth hidden beneath layers of polite society. The snowstorm continued to rage outside, an unyielding force that mirrored the storm of suspicion brewing within the train. Marta stood at the threshold of a significant revelation, her resolve steeled by the knowledge that the answers she sought were within reach. The stage was set for the next chapter of this unfolding drama, and Marta was ready to confront those who held the keys to the mystery. As the train lay suspended in the icy grip of the Carpathians, the passengers were left to ponder their own secrets and the shadows that lingered just beyond the lamplight. The unregistered passenger mystery was a thread that wove through their lives, binding them together in a web of intrigue and danger. And as Marta prepared to take the next step in her investigation, the tension within the train reached a fever pitch. Leaving the reader eager to discover how her discoveries would impact the unfolding drama on the Orient Express, the rhythmic clatter of the Orient Express underscored the tension that hung thick in the air, a constant reminder of the urgency of Marta Sheckley's task. The train, once a symbol of luxury and escape, now felt like a gilded cage as it sat immobilized by a relentless blizzard in the Carpathian Mountains. The dimly lit corridors, with their rationed heat and coal smoke scent, amplified the sense of confinement. Marta, a seasoned investigator with an eye for detail, paced the narrow aisle, her mind a whirl of unanswered questions. Her attention was drawn to the conductor, a man whose demeanor had shifted dramatically over the course of the journey. Once the epitome of calm professionalism, he now fidgeted with his cap, casting furtive glances around him. Marta recognized the signs of inner turmoil, and her instincts told her that he held a crucial piece of the puzzle she was trying to solve. The mystery of the unregistered passenger gnawed at her, and she knew the conductor's confession could be the key to unraveling it. Approaching him with a gentle yet probing demeanor, Marta initiated a conversation. Her questions were designed to be non-threatening, yet they carried an undercurrent of persistence that slowly chipped away at the conductor's defenses. She could see the conflict in his eyes, the struggle between his duty and the weight of the secret he carried. Finally, with a deep breath, he confessed. In a voice tinged with guilt, the conductor revealed that he had allowed an extra passenger aboard at the border. This passenger did not appear on the train's official registry, a fact that sent a ripple of shock through Marta. Her suspicions about the mysterious, unregistered passenger were confirmed, and the conductor's confession opened a new avenue in her investigation. The weight of his actions was evident in his voice, as he feared that his small favor might have contributed to the tragedy unfolding on the train. Marta listened with empathy, understanding the pressures and moral dilemmas faced by those in positions of authority. This moment of shared humanity deepened her resolve to uncover the truth. She realized that the conductor's fear and regret added layers to the narrative, highlighting the unintended consequences of seemingly small decisions. His confession provided her with critical insights into the identity and possible motives of the unregistered passenger, serving as a catalyst for her investigation. With this new information, Marta's mind raced with possibilities. The conductor's account hinted at broader implications, suggesting that the mystery was intertwined with the hidden pasts of other passengers, including the enigmatic Baroness Ilse von Raben. The emotional weight of the confession was substantial, but it also provided Marta with a renewed sense of purpose. She resolved to delve further into the mystery, determined to uncover the truth behind the missing name and its connection to the murder on the Orient Express. As the subchapter drew to a close, Marta contemplated her next steps. The conductor's confession had given her a vital clue, but it also raised new questions. She knew that the mystery was far from solved, and the stakes were higher than ever. The blizzard raged outside, a constant reminder of the urgency of her task. Marta felt the weight of the responsibility on her shoulders, but she also felt a sense of clarity and determination. The conductor's confession marked a turning point in the narrative, where hidden truths began to surface and the stakes were heightened. It captured the emotional journey of the characters and deepened the mystery, keeping readers engaged and eager to uncover the next piece of the puzzle. As Marta prepared to continue her investigation, she knew that the truth was within reach, and she was determined to see justice served. With a renewed sense of purpose, Marta set off down the dimly lit corridor, her mind focused on the task at hand. The conductor's confession had provided her with a vital clue, but it also raised new questions. She knew that the mystery was far from solved, and the stakes were higher than ever. The blizzard raged outside, a constant reminder of the urgency of her task. Marta felt the weight of the responsibility on her shoulders, but she also felt a sense of clarity and determination. As she moved through the train, Marta reflected on the emotional weight of the conductor's confession. She understood the pressures and moral dilemmas faced by those in positions of authority, and she empathized with his predicament. This moment of shared humanity deepened her resolve to uncover the truth, as she realized the complexity of the social dynamics at play. The conductor's fear and regret added layers to the narrative, highlighting the unintended consequences of seemingly small decisions. The conductor's confession provided Marta with critical insights into the identity and possible motives of the unregistered passenger. This revelation served as a catalyst for her investigation, propelling her deeper into the tangled web of secrets aboard the train. The conductor's account also hinted at broader implications, suggesting that the mystery was intertwined with the hidden pasts of other passengers, including the enigmatic Baroness. As the subchapter concluded, Marta was left with a renewed sense of purpose. She resolved to delve further into the mystery, her mind racing with possibilities. The conductor's confession had provided her with a vital clue, but it also raised new questions. The subchapter ended with Marta contemplating her next steps, setting up a seamless transition to the subsequent chapter, where she would continue to unravel the enigma of the missing name and its connection to the murder on the Orient Express. This subchapter was essential as it provided a turning point in the narrative, where hidden truths began to surface and the stakes were heightened. It captured the emotional journey of the characters and deepened the mystery, keeping readers engaged and eager to uncover the next piece of the puzzle. As Marta prepared to continue her investigation, she knew that the truth was within reach, and she was determined to see justice served. The dining car of the Orient Express was a stage set for the drama of human interaction. Marta Sheckley, seated quietly at a corner table, observed the scene with the keen eye of a detective and the subtlety of a seasoned investigator. The air was thick with tension, a palpable undercurrent of suspicion that crackled like static electricity. As the train lay stranded in the Carpathian Mountains, the passengers, once strangers, were now unwilling players in a mystery that demanded their participation. Marta reflected on the conductor's confession about the favor done at the border, a revelation that had altered the course of her investigation. The unregistered passenger was more than a clerical error. It was a deliberate omission that hinted at hidden agendas and clandestine alliances. Her task was to decipher the social dynamics that governed the interactions aboard the train, where every gesture and whispered word carried a weight far beyond its surface meaning. In the dining car, the atmosphere was tense with unspoken questions. The elegant Baroness Ilse von Raben, with her commanding presence and practiced charm, was a focal point of attention. Her ability to subtly influence those around her was a skill honed through years of navigating the treacherous waters of high society. Marta watched as the Baroness engaged in conversation, her words carefully chosen, her manner impeccably refined. It was a performance, Marta realized, designed to maintain control over the narrative and to shield her true intentions. As the evening unfolded, Marta engaged in conversations with key suspects, each interaction a piece of the puzzle she was determined to solve. Henri Valois, the suave French journalist, attempted to downplay his connections to the deceased Dr. Otto Weissmann, but Marta sensed an underlying tension in his demeanor. His charm was a mask, one that hid a deeper involvement in the unfolding drama. Father André Petrescu, with his moralistic stance and quiet authority, seemed to harbor fears that belied his outward composure. His interactions were marked by a guardedness that suggested he was protecting more than just his own secrets. Marta's intuition told her that these interactions were not mere coincidences, but part of a larger, hidden narrative. The pieces of the puzzle were beginning to fit together, revealing a complex web of relationships and motivations. Her observations were interrupted by a heated exchange between Victor Kessel and Sister Magdalena Kroll, a conversation that revealed tensions rooted in past grievances and unspoken secrets. Their shared history with Weissmann hinted at motives that could provide a reason for murder. The critical moment came when Marta overheard Victor and Sister Magdalena discussing past grievances, their voices low but charged with emotion. The conversation hinted at a shared history with Weissmann, one that could provide a motive for murder. As Marta pieced together the fragments of conversation, she realized that the missing passenger was not just an oversight, but a deliberate omission tied to the train's social structure. This passenger, though unseen, held the key to understanding the power dynamics and hidden agendas aboard the train. With each interaction, Marta's understanding of the social dynamics deepened. She began to connect the dots, realizing that the missing name was a symbol of the invisible forces shaping the narrative. The revelation was both startling and enlightening, a turning point in her investigation that propelled her toward the truth. Marta's reflections on the nature of human interactions led her to a startling realization. Courtesy was both a shield and a weapon. The polite veneer that masked the passenger's true intentions was a tool used to manipulate and control the narrative. Marta resolved to use her growing understanding of these dynamics to unravel the mystery further, knowing that the truth lay not just in the physical evidence, but in the interplay of personalities and pasts. The dining car, with its carefully set tables and muted conversations, was a microcosm of the larger mystery. As the train remained halted in the snowbound silence of the Carpathian Mountains, Marta prepared to confront the intricate web of deceit and loyalty that bound the passengers together. The stage was set for the next act in the unfolding drama, one that would reveal the truth behind the locked compartment and the death of Dr. Otto Weissmann. In Social Dynamics Unveiled, readers are drawn deeper into the psychological landscape of the Orient Express, where every gesture and word carries weight. The subchapter sets the stage for Marta's next steps, as she prepares to confront the intricate web of deceit and loyalty that binds the passengers together, propelling the narrative toward its inevitable climax. Chapter 7. The Medicine Case. The dim glow of the lamp cast long shadows across the labels of the medicine case, each bottle standing like a silent witness to secrets untold. Marta Shekeli, ever observant, leaned closer, the clinical scent of alcohol mingling with the cold air of the halted train. This was no ordinary collection. It was a compendium of possibilities, each vial a potential key to unraveling the mystery surrounding Dr. Otto Weissmann's death. As she examined the contents, Marta's mind raced back to the Baroness Ilse von Raben's charity work. The Baroness had always been meticulous, her manners a polished veneer that masked deeper intentions. The charity parcels, ostensibly for hospitals, could easily conceal the means of murder. Marta's fingers brushed against a small bottle labeled with a name she recognized from her wartime records, a compound known for its delayed effects, perfect for a murder timed to perfection. In this confined world of velvet and brass, every action was magnified, every gesture scrutinized. The Baroness's insistence on etiquette, her strategic use of manners, now appeared as more than mere formality. It was a calculated move, a way to control the narrative and deflect suspicion. Marta pieced together the timeline, linking the cordial glass, served with such precision, to the delayed poison. The evidence was mounting. The medicine case, seemingly innocuous, provided Marta with the insights needed to confront the Baroness. Each label, each shadow, whispered truths that could no longer be ignored. The quiet tension of the train mirrored the suspense within Marta's mind as she prepared for the inevitable confrontation, ready to unravel the mystery with the precision of a seasoned investigator. In the dim, shadowy recesses of the train's storage compartment, Marta Shekeli found herself surrounded by an eclectic collection of luggage and boxes, their labels faded and edges worn from countless journeys. The air was thick with the clinical scent of alcohol, mingling with the musty aroma of aged wood and metal, creating an atmosphere that was both unsettling and intriguing. She had come here with a purpose, driven by the persistent whisper of suspicion that had been growing louder with each passing hour aboard the Orient Express. As she carefully examined the contents of the medicine case, Marta's fingers brushed against the cool, smooth surfaces of various vials and bottles. Each was a potential clue in the unfolding mystery surrounding the death of Dr. Otto Weissmann. Her heart quickened when her eyes fell on a small, unassuming bottle labeled in German. Its contents were a clear liquid, innocuous to the untrained eye, yet Marta knew better. This discovery was a piece of the puzzle that could link the enigmatic Baroness Ilse von Raben to Weissmann's untimely demise. Memories flooded back to Marta as she recalled the Baroness's charity work, where medical supplies were a staple. She remembered snippets of conversations overheard in the dining car, discussions of the Baroness's extensive travels, and her connections with various medical professionals across Europe. Could this be the link she had been searching for? As she pieced together these fragments, Marta realized that the Baroness's access to poisons was not just a possibility, but a probability. The Baroness had always been a figure of intrigue, her strategic use of manners and etiquette a tool to disarm those around her. Marta recalled their previous encounters, noting the subtle ways the Baroness deflected questions and steered conversations away from sensitive topics. Her impeccable politeness was a mask, concealing her true intentions behind a veneer of charm and grace. Determined to uncover the truth, Marta began interviewing the train's staff, subtly probing for information about the Baroness's activities on board. A steward, hesitant at first, eventually confided that he had seen the Baroness receiving a parcel from a mysterious man at one of the train's stops. The parcel, wrapped in plain brown paper, was discreetly tucked away in her compartment. This revelation added another layer to the mystery, suggesting that the Baroness's charity work, often lauded for its benevolence, could have provided the perfect cover for acquiring and transporting poisons without arousing suspicion. As Marta connected the dots between the parcel, the medicine case, and the Baroness's potential motive, she realized that time was of the essence. The Baroness's carefully constructed facade was beginning to crack, and with it, the truth about Weissmann's death would emerge. Marta knew that she needed to act quickly, armed with the newfound evidence and a growing sense of urgency. In preparation for her confrontation with the Baroness, Marta reviewed her notes, her mind racing with the possibilities. The Baroness had used her connections and charm to navigate the social circles of Europe, but Marta was determined to see through the facade. She understood that appearances could be deceiving, and that the truth often lay hidden beneath layers of politeness and etiquette. As the train continued its journey through the snow-covered landscape, Marta felt the weight of her responsibility pressing down on her. She knew that the stakes were high, not just for her but for everyone on board. The truth about Weissmann's death had the potential to unravel the carefully constructed social fabric of the train, exposing secrets and lies that had been hidden for far too long. The subchapter reaches its crescendo as Marta, armed with her notebook and a steely resolve, prepares to confront the Baroness. She knows that the truth is within her grasp, and with it justice for Weissmann's death. As she makes her way down the dimly lit corridor, the shadows flickering in the lamplight, Marta is acutely aware of the tension that hangs in the air. The passengers, once strangers, have become an interconnected web of secrets and lies, and Marta is determined to unravel it. The mystery of the Orient Express is not just a puzzle to be solved. It is a reflection of the human condition, where appearances can be deceiving, and the truth is often hidden beneath layers of politeness and etiquette. As Marta approaches the Baroness's compartment, she knows that the confrontation will be a turning point in the investigation. The carefully constructed facade of the Baroness is beginning to crack, and with it, the truth about Weissmann's death will emerge. In this pivotal moment, Marta's investigation into the access to poisons not only advances the plot, but also underscores the theme of appearances versus reality, a motif that runs throughout the narrative. The tension is palpable, and as the chapter closes, readers are left on the edge of their seats, eager to see how Marta will use this information to unravel the mystery and bring justice to the confined corridors of the train. As the snow continues to fall outside, blanketing the world in silence, the train becomes a microcosm of old Europe, where secrets and lies are as much a part of the landscape as the snow-covered mountains. Marta's journey is not just a quest for justice, but a journey into the heart of human nature, where the truth is often hidden beneath layers of politeness and etiquette. In the end, it is not just the mystery of Weissmann's death that Marta seeks to solve, but the mystery of the human condition itself. The dim corridors of the Orient Express seem to stretch endlessly, with their shadows dancing under the flickering lamps. The air was thick with the mingling scents of coal smoke, cold metal, and the faint tang of medicinal alcohol. Marta Sheckley paused, her breath visible in the chill, as she reflected on the events that had unfolded. The train, once a symbol of luxury and escape, now felt like a claustrophobic labyrinth, each compartment holding its secrets. Marta's thoughts turned to Baroness Ilse von Raben, whose charity work had seemed so benevolent. Yet, in the wake of Dr. Otto Weissmann's murder, those same charitable acts now appeared to be a facade, masking something sinister. The Baroness's parcels of medical supplies, intended for the less fortunate, had become objects of suspicion. Marta knew she had to investigate further. As she moved down the corridor, her footsteps soft on the plush carpet, Marta approached the compartment where the parcels were stored. Inside, the room was dimly lit, the shadows creeping over the neatly stacked supplies. Marta's eyes fell on a bottle of medicinal alcohol, its label catching the light in a way that seemed almost deliberate. A chill ran down her spine as she realized this could be the key to understanding the murder's method. The tension in the air was palpable, a silent reminder of the danger lurking beneath the surface. Marta's mind raced back to her earlier conversation with the train conductor, who had mentioned a favor done at the border. Could the Baroness have used her charitable persona to smuggle something illicit onto the train? The thought was unsettling, yet it made a twisted sort of sense. Recalling the Baroness's meticulous attention to etiquette, Marta understood that her perfect manners were more than just a trait. They were a strategic tool. The Baroness had used her social standing to deflect suspicion, maintaining an air of grace and dignity, even as she orchestrated something far darker. Marta's investigation led her to Sister Magdalena Krall, who had been assisting the Baroness with her charitable endeavors. The sister's demeanor was nervous, her answers evasive, as Marta probed about the distribution of specific medical supplies. It was clear that there were inconsistencies in her account, heightening Marta's suspicion that the charity work was merely a cover. As Marta pieced together the clues, a moment of revelation struck her. The connection between the charity parcels and the murder became clear. The Baroness had been using her charity work to transport and possibly administer poison, disguised as medicinal aid. This realization was both shocking and illuminating, tying together the various threads of the investigation and providing Marta with the evidence she needed to confront the Baroness. Determined to gather more definitive proof before taking action, Marta reflected on the dual nature of charity and deception. The veneer of kindness, she realized, could often mask a darker reality. This understanding deepened her insight into the social dynamics at play, setting the stage for the impending confrontation with the Baroness. The atmosphere on the train remained tense and suspenseful, with Marta's internal journey mirroring the external mystery. Her growing understanding of the Baroness's strategic use of manners and charity added depth to her character and propelled the narrative toward its climax. In a flashback, Marta recalled her earlier conversation with the train conductor. His mention of a favor done at the border now seemed more significant than ever. She pondered the possibility that the Baroness had exploited her charitable persona to move something illicit onto the train. The memory of the conductor's words resonated with new meaning, adding another layer to the unfolding mystery. As Marta continued her investigation, she was struck by the realization that the Baroness's charity work was not merely a cover for smuggling. It was also a means of maintaining control and influence, allowing her to navigate the social landscape with ease. The Baroness's meticulous attention to detail, her insistence on etiquette, and her strategic use of manners all pointed to a carefully crafted facade. With each new discovery, Marta's resolve grew stronger. She knew she had to gather more evidence before confronting the Baroness, but the pieces of the puzzle were falling into place. The connection between the charity parcels and the murder was undeniable, and Marta was determined to bring the truth to light. As the train continued its journey through the snow-covered landscape, Marta's mind was a whirlwind of thoughts and theories. She understood that the veneer of kindness could often mask a darker reality, and she was determined to uncover the truth. The Baroness's strategic use of manners and charity had added depth to the mystery, but Marta was confident that she was on the right track. The tension in the air was palpable, a reminder of the danger that lurked beneath the surface. Marta's investigation had revealed the dual nature of charity and deception, and she was determined to see justice served. With each new clue, her resolve grew stronger, propelling her toward the inevitable confrontation with the Baroness. As the train rumbled on, Marta reflected on the events that had brought her to this point. The murder of Dr. Otto Weissmann had shattered the illusion of the Orient Express as a refuge from the world outside. Yet within the confines of the train, Marta had discovered a deeper truth, a truth that spoke to the complexities of human nature and the power of deception. With a renewed sense of purpose, Marta prepared to confront the Baroness. She knew that the road ahead would not be easy, but she was determined to see justice done. The mystery of the charity work connection had been unraveled, and Marta was ready to bring the truth to light. In the dim corridors of the Orient Express, where shadows danced under flickering lamps and the air was thick with tension, Marta Sheckley stood resolute. The journey was far from over, but she was confident that she was on the right path. The truth, she knew, was within reach, and she was determined to see it through to the end. The dining car of the Orient Express was a theater of social performance, and tonight, the Baroness Ilse von Raben was its leading lady. As the train chugged through the Carpathian night, halted by an unforgiving blizzard, the passengers gathered in the dimly lit car, seeking warmth and comfort in the ritual of dinner. The air was thick with the scent of rich foods and the faint, persistent odor of coal smoke. The Baroness, with her impeccable manners and effortless charm, was at the center of it all, weaving conversations with the precision of a master puppeteer. Marta Sheckley, seated discreetly at a corner table, observed this intricate dance with a keen eye. Her role as a claims adjuster had honed her skills in reading people and situations, and she knew that beneath the polished veneer of etiquette, there often lay a world of deception. Tonight, her focus was on the Baroness, whose strategic use of manners had begun to pique Marta's curiosity and suspicion. As the evening unfolded, Marta watched the Baroness engage with the other passengers, her laughter light, her gestures graceful. Yet, there was something calculated about the way she steered conversations, deflecting suspicion with a well-timed compliment or a gentle touch on the arm. It was as if every smile and every nod was a move in a carefully orchestrated game. More often than not, the Baroness's impeccable etiquette seemed less a social grace and more a shield, a way to maintain her innocence and influence those around her. Marta's mind drifted back to previous encounters with the Baroness, recalling moments where her charm had masked underlying intentions. There was the time the Baroness had insisted on serving tea herself, a gesture that seemed innocuous at the time, but now took on new meaning. It was this realization that prompted Marta to delve deeper into the Baroness's background, particularly her charity work. The Baroness's involvement in distributing medical supplies provided a plausible link to the murder of Dr. Otto Weissmann, a connection Marta could not ignore. In the privacy of her quarters, Marta examined the medicine case, its contents meticulously arranged. The clinical scent of alcohol filled the air, and the flickering lamplight cast shadows on the labels, creating an atmosphere of quiet tension. It was here that Marta discovered subtle clues, missing labels, altered contents, that suggested tampering. The implications were clear. The Baroness's access to medical supplies could easily be exploited for nefarious purposes. As she pieced together these elements, Marta recalled a particular encounter with the Baroness. A slight touch on the arm, a knowing smile, gestures that had seemed innocent at the time now felt loaded with meaning. It was a moment of clarity for Marta, a realization of the depth of the Baroness's strategic use of manners to manipulate and deceive. The narrative built to a tense confrontation between Marta and the Baroness. In the softly lit dining car, Marta subtly challenged the Baroness's facade. Their conversation was a delicate dance, each word carefully chosen, each gesture measured. The Baroness, though outwardly composed, revealed a flicker of unease, a hint at the cracks in her carefully constructed persona. Marta's probing questions and keen observations began to unravel the Baroness's defenses, setting the stage for the eventual revelation of her involvement in the murder. Throughout this investigation, the emotional journey was one of growing tension and anticipation. Marta's understanding of the social dynamics aboard the Orient Express deepened, and the strategic use of manners emerged as a central theme. It was a reminder of the complex interplay between appearances and reality, a testament to the power of etiquette as both a social lubricant and a tool for deception. As the train remained trapped in the snowbound wilderness, the stakes grew higher. The Baroness's perfect manners, once a symbol of her sophistication, now stood as evidence of her guilt. Her insistence on narrating etiquette, who should pour, when a lady may enter, how long a visit should last, was not instinct but stage setting, a way to control the narrative and obscure the truth. Marta's investigation was methodical, her insights sharp. She understood that the murder of Dr. Otto Weissmann was not a mystery of tricks but a mystery of people. It was about reading not only footprints and keys, but also manners, omissions, and the quiet violence behind perfect courtesy. This realization was pivotal, providing Marta with the insights needed to confront the Baroness and ultimately unravel the mystery surrounding Weissmann's death. In the end, the strategic use of manners was both the Baroness's weapon and her undoing. It was a lesson in the power of social graces, a reminder that beneath the polished veneer of etiquette, there often lay a world of deception. As the train continued its journey through the winter dark, Marta reflected on the nature of courtesy and deception, understanding that in the world of the Orient Express, appearances were often deceiving, and the truth was a fragile thing, easily obscured by the perfect courtesy of a well-timed smile. Chapter 8. The War That Never Ended. In the dim glow of the smoking car, the air was thick with tension and the scent of burning tobacco. Marta shakily watched the embers in the ashtray, piecing together fragments of a past that refused to die. The document she held, a crumbling reference to a sanitation shipment from 1917, was more than a relic. It was a key to understanding the web of deceit spun by Dr. Otto Weissmann. As the train remained stranded amidst the Carpathian snow, Marta's mind raced back to her days as a wartime records clerk. She had seen how easily atrocities were buried beneath layers of bureaucracy, how reputations were polished while the truth lay forgotten. Confronting Weissmann's former associate, Victor Kessel, she pressed for answers. His evasions only fueled her determination. "You know what this means," she said, holding up the document. The glow of the lamp flickered, casting shadows that danced like ghosts of the past. Kessel's eyes darted away, unable to meet hers. The silence was broken only by the distant howl of the wind, a reminder of the isolation that surrounded them. The connections between the passengers and Weissmann's dark history were undeniable. Each had their own reasons to hide the truth, but it was the Baroness Ilse von Raben who stood out. Her impeccable manners were more than a social grace. They were a shield, a way to control the narrative and keep the past buried. Marta's investigation was not just about solving a murder. It was about unraveling the threads of a war that had never truly ended. The shadows of 1917 reached into the present, and it was up to her to bring them into the light. The wind howled like a wounded beast outside the halted Orient Express, its icy breath seeping through the smallest cracks in the train's polished exterior. Inside, the corridors were dimly lit, shadows dancing in the flicker of low-burning lamps. The air was a mix of coal smoke, damp wool, and the metallic tang of cold steel. It was a setting that seemed to whisper secrets, and on this night, it held a particularly dark one. Dr. Otto Weissmann, a man whose name was synonymous with philanthropy in Vienna, lay dead in his first-class compartment. The door was locked from the inside, a detail that should have screamed solitude, but instead whispered conspiracy. As Marta Sheckley, a seasoned claims adjuster with a keen eye for detail, stepped into the compartment, she knew this was no ordinary case. This was a mystery of people, not just circumstances. Picture this situation. The Orient Express, a symbol of luxury and escape, now a prison of sorts, stranded in the Carpathian Mountains by a relentless blizzard. The passengers, a mix of Europe's elite and those who served them, were forced into an uneasy intimacy. Among them was a name whispered in the corridors, a figure glimpsed but never accounted for in the passenger registry. It was a mystery wrapped in the genteel veneer of society, and the first crack had appeared with Weissmann's death. Marta, with her background as a wartime records clerk, was no stranger to the murky depths of human behavior. She had seen how easily reputations could be varnished over ugly truths, and Weissmann's was no exception. His charitable deeds were the glossy surface of a past mired in wartime dealings that had now resurfaced with deadly consequences. As she began her investigation, Marta knew that the key to unraveling this mystery lay not just in the physical evidence, but in the social dynamics aboard the train. 5 suspects emerged from the shadows, each with motive, means, and opportunity. Baroness Ilse von Raben. Her perfect manners were not just a trait, but a practiced tool. She had access to rare medicines through her charitable work and knowledge of dosage and delay. Her motive was deeply personal. Weissmann's buried war crimes threatened to entangle her family name. Henry Valois, a French journalist with a career-defining story in his sights. He had the means to pressure and blackmail, but lacked the chemistry skills to administer poison. Father Andrei Petrescu, a Romanian priest with a quiet, observant nature. He held a private grudge rooted in wartime atrocities that had scarred his region. Victor Kessel, Weissmann's former associate, now a business advisor, whose financial desperation was palpable. He had shared a tense dinner with Weissmann, but his argument was about money, not murder. Sister Magdalena Kroll, a Polish nurse with medical knowledge and calm hands. She had worked briefly with war survivors and recognized Weissmann, giving her both motive and opportunity. As Marta interviewed each suspect, she paid close attention to their behavior, particularly their use of etiquette. The Baroness's insistence on precise manners stood out, not as a sign of propriety, but as a shield. Marta's wartime experience had taught her that people often used politeness to mask their true intentions, and the Baroness was a master of this art. The investigation took Marta deeper into Weissmann's past, uncovering his wartime dealings and the impact they still had on the present. A document fragment referencing a sanitation shipment in 1917 hinted at atrocities that had been quietly buried, much like the shipment that had haunted Marta's own conscience. As the pieces of the puzzle began to fit together, a new element emerged: the missing passenger. The conductor, under pressure, admitted to a favor done at the border, allowing an unregistered traveler aboard. This revelation added another layer to the mystery, one that Marta was determined to unravel. Generally speaking, mysteries are not solved by sudden revelations, but by the slow, methodical uncovering of truths. Marta's method was to observe, to listen, and to piece together the subtle clues that others might overlook. The cordial glass, not part of the dinner service, was one such clue. The timing of Weissmann's death, estimated by the doctor aboard, suggested a delayed poison rather than a midnight intrusion. The Baroness's gloves, faintly scented with something medicinal rather than perfume, provided another piece of evidence. It was these small details, woven together, that led Marta to the truth. In a controlled confrontation in the train's salon, Marta laid out her findings. She exposed the Baroness's role in Weissmann's death, her perfect manners now revealed as the stage setting they truly were. The past crimes, once buried, were brought to light, and justice, in its own way, was set in motion. As the dawn broke over the snowbound train, Marta reflected on the nature of courtesy and deception. The Orient Express, once a symbol of escape, had become a crucible in which the true nature of its passengers was revealed. And in the end, it was not just the locked compartment that had been opened, but the locked hearts and minds of those aboard. The rhythmic clatter of the train on the tracks provided a steady backdrop as Marta Shekeli made her way through the dimly lit smoking car. The air was thick with the scent of tobacco, curling in wisps around the solitary figure seated by the window. The journalist, whose reputation for uncovering wartime secrets was as enigmatic as his presence, sat with a cigarette in hand, his eyes reflecting the weight of untold stories. Marta approached with measured steps, her mind a whirl of anticipation and caution. She knew that this confrontation could unravel the tangled threads of Otto Weissmann's past, a past shrouded in mystery and deceit. The journalist, Henri Valois, was a man whose allegiances shifted like the smoke around them, and Marta was acutely aware of the delicate dance that lay ahead. "Monsieur Valois," she greeted, her voice steady yet probing. "May I join you?" He gestured to the seat opposite him, a flicker of curiosity in his eyes. "Of course, Madame Shekeli. I was wondering when you might come to see me." Their conversation began with the usual pleasantries, but Marta wasted no time steering it toward Weissmann. "I understand you reported extensively during the war," she said, her gaze unwavering. "Perhaps you came across a certain sanitation shipment during 1917. Valois' expression shifted, a subtle tightening of his jaw betraying his discomfort. "Ah, the euphemisms of war," he replied, exhaling a cloud of smoke. "Sanitation shipment, such a tidy phrase for something so untiddy." Marta leaned forward, sensing the significance of his words. "Weissmann was involved, wasn't he? His philanthropic facade was merely a mask for darker deeds." There was a pause, a moment where the air seemed to thicken with tension. Valois met her gaze, his eyes reflecting a mixture of defiance and intrigue. You are persistent, Madame Sheckley, but you must understand the truth is not always simple. There are loyalties, professional duties, personal ethics. And what of your role? Marta pressed. Did you cover up these atrocities? Valois's eyes narrowed, his defensiveness palpable. I reported what I could when I could, but the truth is a dangerous commodity, especially in post-war Europe. Survival often demands compromise. As the train shuddered through the night, Marta's mind raced, piecing together the implications of Valois's guarded admissions. She knew that he held a critical piece of the puzzle, a document fragment that could illuminate the motives behind Weissmann's murder. You have something, don't you? Marta's voice was a whisper, yet it cut through the tension like a knife. A fragment, a note, something that could unravel this entire narrative. Valois hesitated, the conflict within him evident. Finally, with a sigh, he nodded. Yes, I have such a fragment. It is buried within my notes, a remnant of a time when truth seemed a luxury. Marta's determination was palpable, her resolve unwavering. She knew that this document could be the key to unlocking the mystery that had ensnared the Orient Express. I need to see it, Monsieur Valois. It could change everything. The journalist studied her for a moment, perhaps sensing her sincerity, perhaps seeking redemption of his own. Very well, he conceded. I will share my findings with you. But be warned, Madame Sheckley, the truth is rarely as clean as we wish. Their conversation marked a turning point, a crescendo in Marta's investigation. As she left the smoking car, her mind was a whirlwind of possibilities, the shadows of Weissmann's past looming larger than ever. In this subchapter, the narrative's complexity deepens, revealing the interconnectedness of the characters' histories and the lingering shadows of war. Marta's tenacity and the moral ambiguities faced by those who lived through the tumultuous period come to the fore, offering readers an emotional journey of revelation and tension. As the plot flows seamlessly into the next chapter, the stakes are set to rise even higher, promising a gripping continuation of the mystery aboard the Orient Express. The important thing to remember is that the truth, once uncovered, can never be reburied. Marta's encounter with Valois exemplifies the delicate balance between survival and integrity, a theme that resonates throughout the investigation. As she pieces together the fragments of Weissmann's past, Marta embodies the relentless pursuit of justice, a beacon of hope in a world still grappling with the aftermath of war. Imagine you're on that train, the snow pressing against the windows, the air filled with whispers of secrets long buried. The potential for revelation is significant, and Marta's journey is one that promises not only to solve a murder, but to shed light on the darker corners of human nature. Her confrontation with the journalist is a testament to the power of persistence, a reminder that even in the face of moral conflict, the pursuit of truth remains an unwavering beacon. As readers, we are invited to join Marta on this journey, to delve into the complexities of post-war Europe and the intricate web of deceit that surrounds Weissmann's murder. The narrative is rich with sensory detail, the tension palpable, and the stakes higher than ever. With each revelation, the mystery deepens, drawing us further into a world where loyalty, survival, and truth are constantly at odds. In the end, it is Marta's unwavering resolve and keen observational skills that drive the investigation forward, offering readers a glimpse into the complexities of human nature and the enduring power of truth. As the train continues its journey through the night, the plot thickens, setting the stage for a significant breakthrough in the chapters to come. In the dimly lit smoking car, Marta Sheckley sat quietly, surrounded by a haze of smoke and the soft glow of embers. The air was thick with tension, mirroring the gravity of her recent discoveries. Her fingers traced the edges of a document fragment she had found earlier, a piece of yellowed paper that referenced a sanitation shipment in 1917. To the untrained eye, it might seem innocuous, but Marta knew better. During the war, such euphemisms often masked far more sinister operations. The train's rhythmic clatter was a distant murmur beneath her thoughts as she considered the implications. The fragment was a key, unlocking a past that many, including the now-dead Dr. Otto Weissmann, wished to remain buried. Weissmann, a celebrated philanthropist, had once been an arms broker, his reputation laundered into respectability after the war. But the past was stubborn, refusing to stay hidden. Marta needed more information, and she knew exactly where to find it. She sought out Henry Valois, a journalist known for his relentless pursuit of truth. Their conversation was tense. Valois was evasive, his eyes darting like a cornered animal. Marta pressed him, using the document fragment as leverage. Reluctantly, Valois admitted to knowing about Weissmann's wartime dealings, hinting at a scandal that could ruin reputations. Through a series of flashbacks, intertwined with Valois's reluctant admissions, the narrative of Weissmann's past began to unfold. During the war, he had orchestrated the shipment of chemical weapons under the guise of sanitation supplies. It was a moral quagmire, the kind that war often breeds, where individuals like Weissmann justified their actions as necessary evils. As Marta listened, she realized the interconnectedness of the passengers' histories. Many aboard the train had ties to the war, either as victims or perpetrators. Weissmann's past actions had left a trail of suffering and resentment, providing ample motive for murder. The realization hit her with the force of a train whistle cutting through the winter night. Marta grappled with the weight of her discoveries. The truth was a double-edged sword. Exposing it could devastate lives. Yet, justice demanded it. This internal conflict added depth to her character, highlighting her struggle between justice and compassion. It was a moment of growth, a step toward understanding the complexities of human nature. As she left the smoking car, Marta's determination was renewed. She was resolved to confront those complicit in Weissmann's past and present crimes. Her next stop was a meeting with Victor Kessel, a former associate of Weissmann. Kessel's involvement was another piece of the puzzle, and Marta intended to fit it into place. This subchapter deepens the mystery by connecting the past to the present, providing a motive that is both personal and historical. It challenges readers to consider the lasting impact of war and the moral ambiguities faced by those involved. Marta's journey through this chapter is one of discovery and moral introspection, driving the narrative forward with a compelling blend of suspense and emotional depth. In the dim corridors of the train, Marta counted her footsteps, a habit from her days as a wartime records clerk. It was a way to focus, to ground herself in the present while her mind sifted through the past. She remembered the transport manifests and casualty lists she had once processed, the paperwork connected to a shipment that never arrived. The memory was a shadow, always lurking at the edges of her conscience. As she approached Kessel's compartment, she recalled the atmosphere of the train, the coal smoke clinging to velvet, the wet wool coats steaming faintly on hooks, the snow pressing against windows in thick sheets. It was a world of contrasts, warmth and cold, light and shadow. Much like the people aboard, Kessel greeted her with a practiced smile, his demeanor one of cautious politeness. The conversation began with pleasantries, but Marta soon steered it toward the past. Kessel's face tightened, his eyes narrowing as he realized the direction of her questions. Still, he maintained his composure, deflecting her inquiries with the skill of a seasoned negotiator. But Marta was relentless. She pressed him about Weissmann's role in the wartime shipments, the chemical weapons disguised as sanitation supplies. Kessel's veneer of calm began to crack, and he admitted to having been involved, though he insisted his role was minor. His words were a tangled web of half-truths and evasions, but Marta was adept at untangling such threads. As the conversation continued, Marta pieced together more of the puzzle. Kessel's involvement was driven by money and fear. Weissmann had planned to cut him loose, a decision that could have ruined Kessel financially. It was another motive, another thread in the intricate tapestry of deceit and betrayal. Leaving Kessel's compartment, Marta felt the weight of her discoveries anew. The past was a heavy burden, but it was also a guiding light, illuminating the path to justice. She knew that confronting the truth would not be easy, but it was necessary. As she made her way back through the train, Marta reflected on the nature of courtesy and deception. The passengers, with their polished manners and perfect smiles, were like masks hiding the truths beneath. It was a mystery of people, not tricks, a puzzle that required not just logic but empathy and understanding. The train remained halted, trapped in the Carpathian Mountains, a microcosm of old Europe and its newer humiliations. The blizzard outside was a fitting backdrop to the storm brewing within. But Marta was undeterred. She was determined to see the mystery through to its conclusion. to uncover the truth and bring justice to those who had suffered. As the chapter closed, Marta's resolve was unshaken. She was ready to confront the next challenge, to delve deeper into the mystery and uncover the secrets that lay hidden beneath the surface. The journey was far from over, but she was prepared to face whatever lay ahead. Chapter 9: The Passenger Who Is Not Here. The train shuddered under the relentless assault of snow, the roof echoing with nature's fury. Inside, the lamp flames quivered, casting dancing shadows along the corridor. Marta Shekeli, methodical and observant, examined the soldier's medal she found in a coat pocket, a forgotten relic or a deliberate clue. As she traced her fingers over the engraved insignia, Marta's mind pieced together the fragments of this mystery. The conductor, a man burdened with secrets, had finally confessed to a favor at the border, a passenger not listed, a shadow in the registry. This revelation twisted the narrative, suggesting that the missing passenger's role was more than a mere oversight. In the dim light, Marta replayed her interactions with the Baroness von Raben. Her impeccable manners now seemed less a mark of nobility and more a shield for deception. The Baroness had woven a tapestry of etiquette, each thread carefully placed to obscure the truth. But Marta, with her wartime experience in reading between the lines, saw through the facade. The missing passenger was not a ghost, but a catalyst. Their absence was a presence, felt in the tension that gripped the train. As Marta's deductions crystallized, she understood the Baroness's desperate attempts to bury the past. The soldier's medal was a key, unlocking the hidden connections between the passengers. In this confined world of velvet and brass, the truth began to emerge, as stark and cold as the snow pressing against the windows. As the snowstorm continued its relentless assault on the Orient Express, Marta Shekeli found herself retracing her steps through the dimly lit corridors of the train. The once luxurious journey had transformed into a tense confinement, each compartment echoing the whispered suspicions of passengers trapped by the blizzard. The rhythmic pounding of snow on the roof and the flickering lamp flames cast long, eerie shadows that danced along the walls, amplifying the oppressive atmosphere. Marta's focus sharpened on the conductor, a man whose demeanor had grown increasingly anxious with each passing hour. During their tense conversation, he reluctantly admitted to having allowed a passenger to board at the last border stop without proper registration, a favor for a shadowy figure whose identity remained elusive. This revelation sent ripples of suspicion through Marta's mind, connecting disparate threads of the mystery that had enveloped the train since Dr. Otto Weissmann's untimely death. As Marta processed this new information, she arranged a clandestine meeting with Henry Valois, a journalist known for his knack for unearthing secrets. Valois shared his latest find, a soldier's medal discovered in the pocket of a staff coat. This tarnished yet significant clue hinted at a military connection, serving as a tangible link to the missing passenger and their indirect involvement in the unfolding drama. Marta's thoughts raced as she considered the implications. The medal, she deduced, belonged to someone with a history intertwined with Weissmann's past, a past marked by wartime dealings and moral compromises. The missing passenger's presence on the train was not merely coincidental, but intricately tied to the murder. This realization weighed heavily on Marta as she grappled with the moral complexities of the case. Amidst this turmoil, Marta's understanding of the Baroness's motives began to crystallize. The Baroness, with her impeccable manners and strategic charm, emerged as a figure of duality, both a guardian of secrets and a manipulator of truths. Marta's growing suspicion was fueled by the subtle yet undeniable connections between the Baroness and the unregistered passenger, connections that suggested a shared history marred by betrayal and desperation. The narrative built towards a crescendo as Marta pieced together the narrative of deception and hidden agendas. Her deductions were underscored by a tension that mirrored the storm outside, a tension that threatened to unravel the fragile veneer of civility among the passengers. The stakes were high, and Marta knew that each step she took brought her closer to confronting the Baroness with her newfound insights. Imagine you're Marta, standing in the dim corridor, the cold air biting at your skin as you piece together the puzzle. The soldier's medal is a key, unlocking the door to a past filled with secrets that refuse to stay buried. The conductor's confession, the journalist's discovery, and the Baroness's calculated politeness all form a tapestry of intrigue that demands unraveling. What's crucial here is Marta's ability to see beyond the surface, to read the unspoken stories hidden beneath layers of etiquette and decorum. The Orient Express, halted in its tracks, has become a microcosm of old Europe, a place where reputations are as fragile as the snowflakes falling outside. As the subchapter concludes, Marta stands on the precipice of revelation, poised to confront the Baroness with her newfound insights. The emotional journey within this subchapter is one of mounting intrigue and moral complexity, leaving readers breathless with anticipation for the confrontation to come. This subchapter is essential in weaving the intricate tapestry of motives and histories that define the mystery aboard the Orient Express, setting the stage for the dramatic revelations that will follow. The blizzard outside raged on, but inside the train, another storm was brewing. A storm of revelations and reckonings that would change the course of the investigation. Marta's journey was far from over, and as the pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place, she prepared herself for the confrontation that awaited her. The snow outside pounded relentlessly against the windows of the Orient Express, a rhythmic, muffled percussion that seemed to echo the heartbeat of the train itself. Inside, the world was reduced to the dim glow of lamps, the soft rustle of woolen coats, and the scent of coal smoke mingling with the metallic chill of the Carpathian air. It was in this cocoon of luxury turned confinement that Marta Sheckley found herself, her mind as sharp and focused as the chill outside. As a claims adjuster for a European railway insurance syndicate, Marta was no stranger to the intricacies of human behavior. Her wartime experience as a records clerk had taught her that beneath the veneer of civility lay the potential for untold stories and hidden truths. This evening, however, her attention was drawn not to the usual ledger of human habits, but to a small, seemingly innocuous item. A soldier's medal discovered in the pocket of a staff coat. The medal was a clue, a tangible piece of a puzzle that had begun to form the moment Dr. Otto Weissmann was found dead in his locked compartment. The discovery had sent ripples through the train, turning whispers into suspicions and comfort into unease. The question was not just who had killed Weissmann, but how they had managed to do so in a room locked from the inside. Marta's eyes flicked to the corridor, where the shadows seemed to dance with secrets. She counted footsteps without appearing to, a habit that had served her well in unraveling the stories people tried to hide. Tonight, those footsteps were fewer, the passengers having retreated into their compartments, leaving only the occasional steward or conductor to pass by. The soldier's medal was not on the train's registry, much like the mysterious passenger whose name was whispered but whose presence was never confirmed. It was a connection, a thread that tied together the disparate elements of this mystery. The medal hinted at a past that refused to stay buried, much like the war crimes that Weissmann's philanthropy had sought to obscure. Weissmann's death, Marta realized, was not just a locked-room mystery. It was a story of manners and motives, of perfect courtesy masking imperfect deeds. The suspects each had their own reasons for wanting Weissmann dead, and each had their own means of achieving it. But it was the Baroness Ilse von Raben who intrigued Marta the most. The Baroness was a study in contradictions. Her manners were impeccable, her poise unshakable. Yet, there was something about the way she insisted on narrating etiquette, on controlling the narrative through the guise of politeness, that set Marta's instincts on edge. It was as if the Baroness was performing a role, her actions too precise, too calculated to be mere habit. Take the example of the cordial glass found in Weissmann's compartment long after it should have been removed. It was not from the dining service, the steward had noted, but from a private offering. And who better to offer such a drink than the Baroness herself, under the guise of a courtesy visit? Marta recalled the timeline of that fateful evening. Weissmann had received a visit from the Baroness at 8:40 p.m., a brief encounter marked by the clink of glass and the creak of distant rails. By 10:05 p.m., he had retired to his compartment, bolting the door and requesting not to be disturbed. It was a sequence of events that suggested a delayed poison, a method that required knowledge and precision, qualities the Baroness possessed in abundance. On a related note, the timing of Weissmann's death supported this theory. The doctor aboard estimated that Weissmann died well after he had retired, a fact that pointed to the poison being administered earlier in the evening. This was not a crime of passion, but of calculation, of a plan set in motion long before the train had even left the station. The effectiveness is notable in how the Baroness managed to weave her narrative through the train, her perfect manners serving as both shield and weapon. She had insisted on serving the drink herself, a gesture of politeness that now seemed laden with intent. Her gloves, Marta noted, carried a faint medicinal scent, not the perfume one would expect from a lady of her standing. As Marta pieced together the clues, she realized that the soldier's medal was more than just a trinket. It was a symbol of the past, of the war that had never truly ended for those involved. Weissmann's death was not just a solution to a problem, but a reckoning, a way to ensure that the truth would not surface, that the past would remain buried. Focus on the soldier's medal as a key to unraveling the mystery, Marta thought. It was a tangible connection to the missing passenger, a link that tied the Baroness to the crime. The conductor's confession of a favor done at the border added another layer to the intrigue, suggesting that the missing passenger was not just a figment of imagination, but a real presence, hidden in plain sight. In the dim light of the train, Marta's mind worked like a well-oiled machine, each piece of the puzzle falling into place with a satisfying click. The truth, she realized, was not in the locked door or the bolted window, but in the manners that masked the motives, in the stories people told to hide their deeds. As the train continued its enforced pause in the Carpathian Mountains, Marta prepared to confront the Baroness, to lay bare the polite cruelty that had led to Weissmann's death. The snow outside was a silent witness to the unfolding drama, its relentless fall a reminder that, like the truth, it could not be stopped or ignored. Marta's observations show that people do not become monsters in a moment. They build polite stories around ugly deeds, creating a facade that only those willing to look beyond the surface can see through. The soldier's medal was a clue, a key to unlocking the past and revealing the truth that lay beneath the veneer of civility. In the end, Marta knew that justice was not just about solving a crime, but about understanding the people involved, about seeing the story behind the locked door and the bolted window. It was about recognizing that the past, no matter how deeply buried, would always find a way to surface. The blizzard outside raged on, a relentless force that seemed to mirror the growing storm within the confines of the stranded Orient Express. Inside, the atmosphere was thick with tension, the air heavy with the scent of coal smoke and damp wool. Marta Sheckley sat quietly, her mind racing as she reflected on the latest discovery, a soldier's medal found tucked away in a staff coat pocket. This small, seemingly innocuous object had ignited a cascade of realizations, forcing Marta to reassess her previous encounters with the enigmatic Baroness Ilse von Raben. Marta's thoughts drifted back to her initial conversations with the Baroness, recalling the woman's impeccable manners and the strategic way she wielded them. It was as if each gesture, each word, was carefully chosen to craft a narrative of elegance and detachment. Yet, beneath this polished exterior, Marta sensed turmoil, a past that the Baroness was desperate to keep hidden. The conductor's recent confession about a favor done at the border added another layer of intrigue. It suggested a clandestine work of alliances that the Baroness might be exploiting. This revelation, combined with the soldier's medal, painted a picture of a woman who was far more complex than she appeared. As Marta pieced together the puzzle, she recalled a fleeting moment when the Baroness seemed unusually tense during a conversation. Her fingers had tapped nervously on the armrest, a small detail that Marta had initially dismissed. Now, it loomed large in her mind as a potential indicator of the Baroness's involvement in the mysterious death of Dr. Otto Weissmann. The realization that the Baroness's motive was not rooted in personal vendetta, but rather in a desperate attempt to bury her past, hit Marta with full force. Weissmann's wartime dealings, once thought to be unrelated, now appeared to be the key to understanding the Baroness's actions. His death was not about revenge, it was about survival and the preservation of a carefully constructed image. The Baroness's charity work, which had initially seemed noble, was now revealed to be a strategic cover for her darker ambitions. It was a means to an end, a way to maintain her social standing while keeping her secrets buried. This understanding was underscored by a series of flashbacks that Marta recalled, moments that revealed the Baroness's life before the war. Her rise to prominence was marked by a series of calculated moves, each designed to protect her family's name and her own reputation. Marta's growing understanding of the Baroness's true motive was a turning point in her investigation. It provided a new lens through which to view the events aboard the train, allowing her to see the connections that linked the Baroness to the missing passenger and, ultimately, to Weissmann's death. The flashbacks were vivid, painting a picture of a young Ilse von Robin navigating the treacherous waters of pre-war Europe. She was ambitious, determined, and willing to do whatever it took to secure her place in society. The war had changed everything, leaving scars that she was determined to hide. Her charity work was not just an act of benevolence. It was a means of controlling the narrative, of ensuring that her past remained buried. As Marta prepared to confront the Baroness, she felt a sense of anticipation mingled with trepidation. The stakes were higher than ever, the tension palpable. Marta knew that the upcoming confrontation would be a pivotal moment, one that could unravel the entire mystery or send her spiraling back to square one. The train, still trapped in the Carpathian Mountains, seemed to hold its breath as Marta steeled herself for the impending showdown. She was armed with knowledge, with an understanding of the Baroness's true motive, and the connections that linked her to the missing passenger. It was a delicate web of deception, one that Marta was determined to untangle. This subchapter was crucial in advancing the plot, providing readers with essential insights into the Baroness's character and setting the stage for the dramatic revelations to come. Marta's journey was far from over, but she was closer than ever to uncovering the truth. The mystery of the Orient Express was not just about solving a murder. It was about understanding the people behind the masks, the stories they told, and the secrets they kept hidden. As Marta reflected on her findings, she realized that the Baroness's actions were not just about protecting herself. They were about protecting a legacy, a family name that had been tarnished by the war. The Baroness was a woman caught between two worlds, trying to navigate the delicate balance between past and present, truth and deception. With each passing moment, Marta felt the weight of her responsibility growing heavier. She was not just an investigator, she was a seeker of truth, determined to uncover the hidden motives and buried secrets that lay at the heart of the mystery. The Baroness's true motive was a piece of the puzzle, but it was not the only one. There were still questions to be answered, still mysteries to be unraveled. As the train remained trapped in the snow, Marta knew that time was running out. The blizzard outside showed no signs of abating, and the passengers were growing increasingly restless. The tension aboard the train was palpable, each moment fraught with the possibility of revelation or disaster. In the quiet moments before the confrontation, Marta took a deep breath, steeling herself for what lay ahead. She was ready to face the Baroness, to confront her with the truth and demand answers. The stakes were high, but Marta was determined to see the mystery through to its conclusion. The subchapter concluded with Marta's resolve, firm and unyielding. She was prepared to do whatever it took to uncover the truth, to bring justice to those who had been wronged, and to ensure that the secrets of the past were finally brought to light. The mystery of the Orient Express was a complex web of deception and intrigue, but Marta was determined to unravel it, one thread at a time. Chapter 10, The Perfect Lady's Hands. The dining car was a stage, and Marta Sheckley was ready to direct its final act. The porcelain gleamed under dim lamps, and silverware lay in perfect alignment, much like the Baroness herself, an image of unassailable poise. Yet Marta knew that beneath those polished manners lay the key to Weissmann's demise. As the Baroness von Robin moved with graceful precision, her gloved hands orchestrated a symphony of etiquette. Each movement was deliberate, each gesture a calculated step in a dance of deception. Marta watched closely, her mind reconstructing the moment when the Baroness had visited Weissmann's compartment, offering a cordial with the same practiced elegance. The faint medicinal scent clinging to the Baroness's gloves was the first crack in her facade. It was a subtle detail, easily overlooked, but it was enough for Marta. She recalled the cordial glass, noted by the steward as not belonging to the dinner service, and the timing of Weissmann's death, both pieces fitting neatly into her puzzle. In the quiet of the dining car, Marta reenacted the serving ritual, her fingers mimicking the Baroness's precise movements. It was in this reenactment that Marta found her resolve. The Baroness's impeccable manners were not just a social shield, they were her weapon. Armed with this insight, Marta prepared to confront the Baroness. She would expose the truth hidden behind those perfect ladies' hands, revealing the role they played in Weissmann's death. In the end, it was not brute force that solved the mystery, but the quiet violence of perfect courtesy, unmasked by a woman who understood the power of observation. The dining car of the Orient Express was a sanctuary of civility, a place where the rituals of service were performed with precision, even as the blizzard outside turned the train into a prison of snow and steel. The linen was pressed, the silver gleamed, and the air was filled with the quiet hum of conversation, punctuated by the clink of porcelain. Yet, beneath this veneer of elegance, tension simmered, a tension that Marta Sheckley could sense as she observed the passengers from her corner table. What makes this setting work is its ability to mask the underlying currents of suspicion and fear. The Orient Express, halted in the Carpathian Mountains, became a microcosm of old Europe, where manners were both a shield and a weapon. As the train's investigator, Marta knew that the answers to Dr. Otto Weissmann's mysterious death lay not only in the physical evidence, but in the reenactment of the serving ritual that had taken place before his demise. The evening had begun like any other, with passengers gathering for dinner, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of the lamps. The Baroness Ilse von Raben, a woman of impeccable manners and a suspect in Weissmann's death, had been particularly attentive to the rituals of service. Her insistence on pouring Weissmann a cordial during a courtesy visit was a detail that did not escape Marta's notice. The cordial glass, later found in Weissmann's compartment, was not part of the standard dinner service, raising questions about the true nature of their interaction. Marta's expertise as a claims adjuster for the Railway Insurance Syndicate had taught her to read systems and routines, to find the truth hidden within the mundane. Her wartime experience as a records clerk had further honed her skills, revealing the dark deeds that could be concealed behind polished reputations. In the dim corridors of the train, she counted footsteps and noted the subtle shifts in behavior, all while maintaining the appearance of a disinterested observer. The next step involves understanding the significance of the serving ritual. In the world of the Orient Express, etiquette was not merely a social nicety. It was a language, a method of communication that could convey both sincerity and deceit. The Baroness's actions were a performance, a carefully crafted narrative designed to deflect suspicion. She insisted on serving the drink herself, a gesture that seemed rooted in politeness, but was, in fact, a calculated move to control the narrative. What matters most is the timing of Weissmann's death, which supported the theory of a delayed poison. The doctor aboard the train estimated that Weissmann had died well after he had retired to his compartment, suggesting that the poison had been administered earlier in the evening. This timeline aligned with the Baroness's visit, making her the prime suspect in a plot that was as much about social manipulation as it was about murder. A good example of how etiquette can be used as a mask is the way the Baroness narrated the rules of social interaction. She dictated who should pour the drinks, how long a visit should last, and when a lady might enter a gentleman's compartment. These were not merely observations of propriety. They were strategic moves to establish herself as above reproach, even as she orchestrated Weissmann's downfall. As Marta pieced together the events of that fateful night, she realized that the key to solving the mystery lay in reenacting the serving ritual. She needed to understand not only what had been done, but how it had been done. The Baroness's gloves, which carried a faint medicinal scent rather than perfume, hinted at her access to the poison. This detail, combined with the cordial glass and the timing of Weissmann's death, formed a logical chain of evidence that pointed directly to her guilt. The reenactment of the serving ritual was a turning point in Marta's investigation. By observing the Baroness's behavior and replicating her actions, Marta was able to expose the cracks in her facade. The Baroness's perfect manners, once a shield, became evidence of her culpability. Her insistence on controlling every aspect of the interaction revealed her true nature, a woman who used courtesy as a weapon, hiding her motives behind a mask of politeness. This strategy proves effective because it allows Marta to see beyond the surface, to understand the true dynamics at play. The Orient Express, with its confined quarters and rigid social structures, became a stage where the passengers performed their roles. But Marta, with her keen eye for detail and her understanding of human behavior, was able to see through the performance to the truth beneath. In the end, the reenactment of the serving ritual was not just about solving a murder, it was about understanding the nature of deception. The Baroness had crafted a story around her actions, a story that was as much about preserving her reputation as it was about avenging past wrongs. But Marta, with her quiet determination and her refusal to be swayed by appearances, was able to unravel the narrative and bring the truth to light. The resolution of the mystery was a testament to Marta's skills and her understanding of the human condition. On the Orient Express, where luxury and confinement coexisted, the reenactment of the serving ritual revealed the quiet violence behind perfect courtesy. It was a reminder that people do not become monsters in a moment. They become monsters by building polite stories around ugly deeds. As the train remained trapped in the snowbound Carpathians, Marta reflected on the events that had unfolded. The Baroness had been exposed, and justice, though delayed, was set in motion. The Orient Express, once a symbol of escape and luxury, had become a stage for a drama of manners and murder. And Marta, with her notebook of carriage diagrams and her ability to read the unspoken language of etiquette, had proven that the truth could be found not in the grand gestures, but in the quiet moments of ritual and routine. The dining car of the Orient Express was a study in contrasts that afternoon. Outside, the Carpathian winter pressed against the windows, a silent reminder of the blizzard that had brought the train to an unexpected halt. Inside, the warmth of the tea and the soft glow of the lamps created an illusion of comfort and civility. Yet beneath this veneer, tension simmered among the passengers, each of whom was acutely aware of the murder that had shattered their journey. Marta Sheckley sat quietly, her eyes subtly observing every detail, every gesture, every nuance of conversation. Her attention was particularly drawn to the Baroness Ilse von Raben, who sat across from her, exuding an air of unassailable poise. The Baroness was impeccably dressed, her ensemble completed by a pair of fine kid-leather gloves that she wore even indoors. To the casual observer, they were a mere accessory, a testament to her refined taste. But to Marta, they were a puzzle piece that didn't quite fit. The Baroness's gloves were more than a fashion statement. They were a barrier, a shield that she used to maintain her carefully constructed facade. As the tea service progressed, Marta engaged the Baroness in conversation, steering the discussion towards the events surrounding Dr. Otto Weissmann's untimely death. The Baroness, maintaining her air of superiority, seemed unfazed by the topic, yet Marta's keen eye caught the slightest tremor in her hand as she lifted her cup. This was the only hint of the underlying tension she strove to conceal. "Your gloves are exquisite, Baroness," Marta remarked, her voice carrying just the right note of admiration. "May I have a closer look?" The Baroness hesitated, a flicker of discomfort crossing her face before she obliged. As Marta took the gloves, she noted their softness and the faint, medicinal scent that clung to the leather. It was a scent she had encountered before, in Weissmann's compartment. This olfactory clue, subtle yet undeniable, linked the Baroness to the scene of the crime and suggested her involvement in the murder. Marta handed the gloves back with a polite smile, her mind racing. The Baroness had weaponized her manners and appearances, using them to manipulate perceptions and obscure her true intentions. The gloves, once a symbol of her refinement, now became the linchpin in Marta's case against her, embodying the duality of elegance and deception. As the tea concluded, Marta retreated to her compartment, the weight of her discovery settling upon her. She reflected on the significance of the Baroness's gloves and the role they played in the unfolding mystery. Confronting the Baroness would require not only evidence, but also an understanding of the psychological games at play. In the dim light of her compartment, Marta reviewed her notes, drawing connections between the clues she had gathered. The Baroness's insistence on serving Weissmann, the cordial herself, the timing of his death, and now the scent on the gloves all pointed towards a carefully orchestrated plan. Marta's resolve was strengthened, her path forward clear as she prepared for the inevitable confrontation. The gloves, once an innocuous detail, had become a crucial clue in unraveling the mystery of Weissmann's murder. They highlighted the interplay of appearances and reality, and the ways in which seemingly minor details could unravel a carefully crafted deceit. As Marta pieced together the clues, she realized that the Baroness's perfect manners were not merely a trait but a practiced tool of manipulation. Marta knew that her next step would be pivotal. She needed to gather more evidence, to build a case that would withstand the Baroness's formidable defenses. She considered the other passengers, each with their own secrets and potential motives. Yet it was the Baroness who stood at the center of the web, her gloves the thread that connected her to the crime. The train remained trapped in the snow, a microcosm of old Europe and its complexities. As Marta prepared for the confrontation that lay ahead, she was acutely aware of the stakes. This was not merely a matter of solving a murder. It was about unveiling the truth behind the polished veneer of civility. With a deep breath, Marta set her notebook aside, her mind focused on the task at hand. She would need to approach the Baroness with caution, to navigate the intricacies of etiquette and deception with precision. The gloves had revealed their secret, and now it was up to Marta to see justice served. The subchapter concludes with Marta resolute in her mission. The Baroness's gloves, once a symbol of her elegance, had become the key to unlocking the mystery. As the train remained snowbound, Marta's determination was unwavering, her path forward illuminated by the clues she had uncovered. The stage was set for the confrontation that would bring the truth to light, and Marta was ready to face whatever lay ahead. The dining car was a world unto itself, a tableau of porcelain, silver, and polished wood, where rituals of civility played out against the backdrop of a halted world. As Marta Sheckley stepped into this space, she became the observer once more. Her eyes traced the familiar arrangement of the dining set, the precise alignment of cutlery that had witnessed the Baroness's subtle dance of manners. Each gesture, a calculated move in a game of appearances, was etched in Marta's mind, and it was here she sought the final confirmations before her confrontation. Imagining the scene as it unfolded, Marta recalled the Baroness's glide through the dining car, each step a delicate choreography. The Baroness had a way of commanding attention without demanding it, her presence as potent as the faint medicinal scent that clung to her gloves. This scent, Marta realized, was not merely a detail, but a thread that wove through the fabric of her investigation, linking the Baroness to the events of that fateful evening. In the quiet of the dining car, Marta allowed herself a moment of reflection. Her journey had been one of meticulous observation and relentless deduction. She had spoken with each suspect, sifted through their stories, and noted the discrepancies that others might overlook. The Baroness's strategic courtesy, her insistence on serving the cordial herself, was not just a matter of etiquette, it was a calculated maneuver, a shield for darker intentions. As she reviewed her notes, Marta's internal monologue revealed her doubts and determination. The stakes were high, not just for her, but for everyone aboard the train. The blizzard outside was a constant reminder of their confinement, the snow piling against the windows as if to seal them in with their secrets. The train, a symbol of luxury and escape, had become a crucible of tension and truth. Marta's preparation was as much psychological as it was physical. She rehearsed the confrontation in her mind, anticipating the Baroness's reactions, the possible deflections and denials. The Baroness was formidable, a woman who wielded her social skills with the precision of a surgeon. Yet, Marta's resolve was bolstered by the memory of Dr. Weissmann, his lifeless form a testament to the injustice she sought to unravel. The tension was palpable as Marta stood at the threshold of the Baroness's compartment, her heart pounding with anticipation. She was armed with evidence, yes, but more importantly, with the conviction that truth must prevail. The Baroness's guilt was a tapestry woven from threads of deceit, and Marta was prepared to unravel it, strand by strand. As she knocked on the door, the train's rhythmic clatter underscored the moment, a steady heartbeat in the silence. The door opened, and the Baroness stood before her, poised and unperturbed. Her eyes, sharp and calculating, met Marta's with a flicker of recognition. This was the moment Marta had meticulously prepared for, the culmination of her observations and deductions. "Baroness," Marta began, her voice steady, "may I come in?" The Baroness stepped aside, her expression revealing nothing. The compartment was as elegantly appointed as its occupant, a study in understated luxury. Marta took a seat, her notebook at the ready, the pages filled with the evidence she had painstakingly gathered. "I wanted to discuss the events of the evening Dr. Weissmann died," Marta continued, watching the Baroness closely, "particularly your visit to his compartment." The Baroness smiled, a gesture that was more mask than expression. "Of course, I was simply ensuring his comfort. It was the least I could do for such a distinguished gentleman." "Indeed," Marta replied, leaning forward slightly. "And during your visit, you offered him a cordial, did you not?" The Baroness inclined her head, her smile unwavering, a small gesture of hospitality. "A gesture that was not part of the dining service," Marta noted, flipping through her notebook. "The glass was collected separately, later than it should have been." The Baroness's eyes narrowed ever so slightly, a crack in her polished veneer. "I assure you, it was nothing more than a courtesy." "A courtesy," Marta echoed, "that coincided with a faint medicinal scent on your gloves, a scent that suggests access to substances not commonly found in a cordial." The Baroness's composure faltered, a momentary lapse that Marta seized upon. "What are you implying?" "I'm suggesting," Marta said, her voice firm, "that the cordial was more than a simple drink. It was the means by which Dr. Weissmann was poisoned." The Baroness's silence was telling, a pause that spoke volumes. Marta pressed on, her words deliberate and measured. "Your insistence on etiquette, on serving the drink yourself, was not just a matter of manners. It was a way to control the narrative, to ensure that no one else handled the glass." The Baroness's eyes flashed with something akin to anger, but Marta held her ground. "You used your social skills as a weapon, Baroness, a weapon to mask your true intentions." The compartment seemed to shrink around them, the air thick with the weight of Marta's accusation. Outside, the blizzard raged on, a storm that mirrored the turmoil within. The Baroness's silence stretched, a testament to the truth of Marta's words. "What you have done," Marta continued, her voice softening slightly, "is not just a crime against Dr. Weissmann. It is a betrayal of the very courtesy you claim to uphold." The Baroness's eyes met Marta's, a flicker of something, regret, perhaps, passing between them. In that moment, Marta knew she had succeeded. The Baroness's guilt was no longer hidden behind a facade of politeness. It was laid bare, a truth that could not be denied. As Marta rose to leave, she felt a sense of resolution, a quiet satisfaction in knowing that justice, though delayed, would be served. The train might remain trapped in the snow, but Marta's investigation had set in motion a reckoning that could not be stopped. The confrontation had been a test of wills, a battle fought not with weapons, but with words. And in that battle, Marta had emerged victorious, her unwavering pursuit of truth shining through the darkness of deception. Chapter 11. The Salon Reckoning. The salon was silent, a tension-laden hush punctuated only by the rhythmic ticking of the ornate clock on the mantel. Marta Sheckley stood at the center, her presence commanding yet understated, as she gathered the suspects around her. Each face bore the mask of civility, yet beneath the veneer lay a cauldron of unease. "Weissmann's death was not an accident of solitude," Marta began, her voice steady, cutting through the silence like a knife. "It was a carefully orchestrated act, hidden behind the guise of impeccable manners." Her eyes met those of Baroness Ilse von Raben, whose expression remained impassive, yet Marta noticed the subtle tension in her perfectly poised hands. "The cordial glass," Marta continued, "was not from the dining service. It was offered during a courtesy visit." She paused, letting the weight of her words settle. The Baroness insisted on serving it herself, a gesture that seemed polite, but was in fact strategic. The room felt smaller, the air heavier with each revelation, Marta laid out the timeline with precision, illustrating how the poison was administered under the guise of hospitality. The timing of Weissmann's death aligns perfectly with the delayed effect of the poison. He bolted the door himself, unaware of the danger he had ingested. The Baroness's facade of courtesy cracked as Marta revealed the motive buried beneath layers of etiquette. Revenge and containment, Marta concluded, to protect a family name entangled with Weissmann's past crimes. The salon, once a stage for social performance, now felt like a courtroom where the past's shadows were finally brought to light. The snowstorm outside the Orient Express had transformed the train into a world unto itself, a microcosm where time seemed to stand still. The passengers, once strangers, now shared a common fate, their destinies intertwined by the relentless blizzard that pressed against the windows. In the salon car, the atmosphere was thick with tension, a palpable undercurrent of unease that belied the polite exchanges and forced smiles. Marta Sheckley, with her keen eye for detail and an unerring sense of human nature, had gathered the key players in this unfolding drama. The salon was dimly lit, the lamps casting long shadows that danced across the polished wood and velvet upholstery. The air was tinged with the scent of coal smoke and faint traces of perfume, a reminder of the world outside that they could no longer reach. Marta stood at the center of the room, her presence commanding attention without the need for raised voices or dramatic gestures. Her voice, calm and measured, cut through the murmur of conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, we are gathered here to understand the events that led to Dr. Otto Weissmann's untimely death. This is not merely a question of who, but of how and why. The assembled passengers shifted in their seats, their eyes fixed on Marta. Among them was Baroness Ilse von Raben, her demeanor as composed as ever, her hands resting gracefully in her lap. Henri Valois, the French journalist, leaned forward with an air of eager anticipation. Father Andrei Petrescu, the Romanian priest, sat quietly, his expression inscrutable. Victor Kessel, Weissmann's former associate, appeared restless, his fingers drumming a silent rhythm on the arm of his chair. Sister Magdalena Kroll, the Polish nurse, watched Marta with a steady gaze, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. Marta began to weave the narrative, her words painting a picture of the events leading up to the murder. On the night of Dr. Weissmann's death, there was a visit, a courtesy visit, as it was described. Baroness von Raben, you were seen entering Dr. Weissmann's compartment, ostensibly to check on his comfort. The Baroness inclined her head slightly, acknowledging the statement. Indeed, I did visit Dr. Weissmann. It was a simple act of kindness, nothing more. Marta nodded, her expression thoughtful. And during this visit, a cordial was served, a gesture of hospitality. Yet this cordial did not originate from the dining service. It was brought privately, and it is this detail that is of particular interest. The room was silent, the tension mounting as Marta continued. Dr. Weissmann was found with the door bolted from the inside, a seemingly impossible situation. However, the timing of his death suggests that the poison was administered earlier, during that very visit. She paused, allowing the weight of her words to settle over the room. Baroness, your insistence on serving the cordial yourself, your meticulous adherence to etiquette, it was not merely a display of good manners. It was a carefully orchestrated act, one that ensured the poison would be delivered without suspicion. The Baroness's composure remained unbroken, but there was a flicker of something in her eyes, perhaps surprise, perhaps calculation. You accuse me of murder, Miss Sheckley, yet where is your proof? Marta met her gaze steadily. The proof lies in the details, Baroness. The cordial glass, collected later than it should have been, bears traces of a substance not typically found in such a drink. The timing of Dr. Weissmann's death aligns with the effects of a delayed poison, one that you, with your connections to charitable hospitals, would have had access to. The Baroness's lips pressed into a thin line, her silence speaking volumes. Marta continued, her voice unwavering. Furthermore, your gloves, Baroness, carry a faint medicinal scent, not the fragrance one would expect. It is these small inconsistencies that reveal the truth. As the implications of Marta's words sank in, the other passengers exchanged glances, the reality of the situation dawning upon them. The Baroness, once a figure of elegance and grace, now stood exposed, her perfect manners revealed as a facade. Marta turned her attention to the wider group, her expression softening. This is not merely about solving a murder. It is about understanding the stories we tell to hide our deeds, the polite veneers that mask the darkness beneath. Dr. Weissmann's past, his transformation from arms broker to philanthropist, was a story he crafted to bury the truth. But the past has a way of resurfacing, and justice, though delayed, is inexorable. The salon was silent, the gravity of Marta's words resonating with each of them. Outside, the snow continued to fall, a relentless reminder of their isolation. Yet within the confines of the train, a resolution had been reached, the truth unveiled through a controlled confrontation that laid bare the complexities of human nature. As the passengers began to disperse, Marta remained, her thoughts turning inward. She reflected on the nature of courtesy and deception, the ways in which people construct their realities to suit their needs. In the end, it was not the locked door that held the key to the mystery, but the subtle dance of manners and motives, the quiet violence behind perfect courtesy. With a final glance around the salon, Marta stepped into the corridor, the echoes of the past mingling with the present. The train remained trapped in the snow, but within its walls, justice had been set in motion, a testament to the power of observation and the courage to confront the truth. Marta Shekeli stood poised before the assembled passengers in the opulent yet stifling salon of the Orient Express. The air was thick with tension, every eye on her, as she prepared to unravel the intricate timeline of events leading to Dr. Otto Weissmann's death. Her demeanor was calm and authoritative, her presence commanding respect as she began to weave a narrative that would expose the truth hidden beneath layers of deceit. The evening of Weissmann's murder had been one of peculiarities, beginning with the Baroness's visit to his compartment. Marta revisited that moment, her sharp observational skills piecing together fragments of conversations and the subtle shifts in behavior she'd noted. The Baroness had insisted on serving Weissmann a cordial herself, a seemingly innocuous gesture that now resonated with sinister intent. This non-dining cordial glass had become a focal point in Marta's investigation, a silent witness to the Baroness's machinations. As Marta spoke, she drew connections between the suspect's behaviors and the timeline of the night. Her precision was both unnerving and enlightening, highlighting inconsistencies with a clarity that left no room for doubt. The Baroness's insistence on etiquette, her strategic use of charm and courtesy, had been a mask for her true intentions. The salon's atmosphere grew more charged as Marta revealed the subtle power dynamics at play, the way social graces had been weaponized to obscure the truth. Key revelations unfolded as Marta identified the missing passenger's indirect role in the murder. This ghostly presence had haunted the investigation, a name overheard in the corridor, a figure glimpsed once and then never again. Marta introduced the soldier's medal found in a staff coat pocket as a pivotal clue, linking it to the Baroness's past and her motive for murder. Her narrative was a tapestry of logic and intuition, each thread carefully placed to lead to the inevitable conclusion. The emotional journey of this subchapter was one of mounting tension and revelation. The suspects, once confident in their facades, began to unravel under the weight of Marta's deductions. The reader was drawn into the unfolding drama, each revelation a piece of the puzzle that clicked into place with satisfying clarity. Marta's controlled confrontation was a masterclass in deduction, her ability to read between the lines of polite conversation and uncover the violence beneath. In reconstructing the timeline, Marta began with the dinner service at 7 p.m., a ritual that tried to hold despite the growing tension. By 8:10 p.m., the train had slowed, snow thickening outside, and heat was rationed. At 8:40 p.m., the Baroness paid her courtesy visit to Weissmann, offering the cordial that would seal his fate. Weissmann was later seen in the smoking compartment at 9:40 p.m., calm yet mildly flushed, a testament to the poison beginning its work. By 10:05 p.m., Weissmann had retired, bolting his door and asking not to be disturbed. The timeline continued with a muffled cough heard at 11:30 p.m., dismissed as irritation from the coal smoke. Silence reigned by 12:20 a.m., and at 1:10 a.m., the steward's attempt to deliver hot water went unanswered. It wasn't until 2:20 a.m. that the conductor, with witnesses present, forced entry to find Weissmann dead, the bolt still thrown, Marta's reconstruction focused not on how someone entered, but when someone had already been there. Her deductions pointed to the Baroness, whose perfect manners were not simply a trait, but a practiced tool for manipulation. The cordial glass, the timing of death, and the Baroness's insistence on etiquette all converged to paint a clear picture of premeditated murder. The missing passenger, a shadowy figure that had eluded detection, was revealed through Marta's meticulous investigation. The soldier's medal, a seemingly innocuous item found in a staff coat pocket, was the key to unraveling the mystery. It linked back to the Baroness's past, her family's entanglement in Weissmann's buried war crimes, providing a motive rooted in revenge and containment. Marta's journey from observer to orchestrator of truth was complete. Her growth as a character, rooted in her unwavering dedication to uncovering the past's hidden sins. The suspects, once confident in their facades, began to unravel under the weight of Marta's deductions. The reader was drawn into the unfolding drama, each revelation a piece of the puzzle that clicked into place with satisfying clarity. The salon's atmosphere was charged, the tension palpable as Marta laid out her findings. Her narrative was a tapestry of logic and intuition, each thread carefully placed to lead to the inevitable conclusion. The Baroness's role in Weissmann's death was exposed, her perfect manners a veneer for her true intentions. The revelation of past crimes and their cover-up brought a sense of justice to Weissmann's death. Setting the stage for the final reckoning, this subchapter was essential in building a bridge from the scattered clues of previous chapters to the cohesive narrative that would bring justice to Weissmann's death. Marta's controlled confrontation was a masterclass in deduction, her ability to read between the lines of polite conversation and uncover the violence beneath. As the subchapter concluded, Marta stood poised to deliver the final blow. Her findings were a testament to the power of observation and the unyielding pursuit of truth. The suspects, once confident in their facades, began to unravel under the weight of Marta's deductions. The reader was drawn into the unfolding drama, each revelation a piece of the puzzle that clicked into place with satisfying clarity. Marta's journey from observer to orchestrator of truth was complete. Her growth as a character, rooted in her unwavering dedication to uncovering the past's hidden sins. The suspects, once confident in their facades, began to unravel under the weight of Marta's deductions. The reader was drawn into the unfolding drama, each revelation a piece of the puzzle that clicked into place with satisfying clarity. The salon's atmosphere was charged, the tension palpable as Marta laid out her findings. Her narrative was a tapestry of logic and intuition, each thread carefully placed to lead to the inevitable conclusion. The Baroness's role in Weissmann's death was exposed, her perfect manners a veneer for her true intentions. The revelation of past crimes and their cover-up brought a sense of justice to Weissmann's death, setting the stage for the final reckoning. This subchapter was essential in building a bridge from the scattered clues of previous chapters to the cohesive narrative that would bring justice to Weissmann's death. Marta's controlled confrontation was a masterclass in deduction, her ability to read between the lines of polite conversation and uncover the violence beneath. As the subchapter concluded, Marta stood poised to deliver the final blow. Her findings were a testament to the power of observation and the unyielding pursuit of truth. The suspects, once confident in their facades, began to unravel under the weight of Marta's deductions. The reader was drawn into the unfolding drama, each revelation a piece of the puzzle that clicked into place with satisfying clarity. The salon of the Orient Express was a stage set for revelation, the air thick with the tension of secrets teetering on the edge of exposure. Passengers, each a portrait of their own concealed histories, formed a semicircle around Marta Shekeli. The dim light cast long shadows, amplifying the suspense as the train sat snowbound, a luxurious prison in the Carpathian wilderness. Marta, poised and composed, commanded the room with a calm authority that belied the storm of truths she was about to unleash. Her voice, steady and clear, cut through the silence as she began to weave a narrative that would unravel the polite facades of those gathered. She meticulously reconstructed the timeline leading to Dr. Otto Weissmann's murder, each detail a thread in the tapestry of deception she was about to dismantle. Her narrative was punctuated by sharp observations, each a pinpoint of light illuminating the dark corners of the passengers' behaviors. She noted the subtle cues, the unguarded moments that had betrayed their true intentions, and as she spoke, the veneer of propriety began to crack. The focus turned sharply to Baroness Ilse von Raben, a figure of elegance and strategic courtesy. Marta's investigation had unearthed a series of past crimes, wartime atrocities linked to Weissmann's dealings, which had left scars on those involved. The Baroness, with her charitable facade, had skillfully concealed her involvement, manipulating the social dynamics aboard the train to her advantage. The salon was silent, save for the rhythmic ticking of the ornate clock, each tick a reminder of time's relentless march toward truth. Marta's revelations were a masterclass in deduction, not just solving a murder, but exposing the moral compromises that had allowed such crimes to thrive. Her words challenged the passengers to confront their complicity, whether through action or inaction, in perpetuating this cycle of violence and deceit. The room held its collective breath as Marta detailed the Baroness's strategic use of her charitable work to mask her true intentions. She revealed how the Baroness had orchestrated the perfect crime, using her knowledge of rare medicines and impeccable manners as tools of deception. The cordial glass, a seemingly innocuous detail, became a pivotal piece of evidence, linking the Baroness directly to Weissmann's death. As Marta spoke, the Baroness's composure began to falter. Her initial confidence gave way to a visible struggle against the weight of her actions. The passengers watched, a mix of shock and denial etched on their faces as Marta's revelations peeled back the layers of deceit to expose the raw, painful realities beneath. The emotional journey of this revelation was intense. Marta's skillful dismantling of the social dynamics aboard the train laid bare the polite cruelty that had masked deeper truths. She highlighted how courtesy, often a shield for deceit, could also be wielded as a tool for unveiling the truth. Her words resonated with a profound understanding of human nature, drawing on her wartime experiences where she had learned that reputations often survive the truth. In the charged silence that followed Marta's revelations, the air was thick with the gravity of what had been uncovered. Marta stood resolute, having laid bare the truth, yet acutely aware that justice, in this case, was a complex and elusive goal. The train, still trapped in the snow, served as a fitting metaphor for the passengers' own entanglement in the past. The ticking of the salon's clock echoed the inexorable passage of time, a reminder that truth once revealed could not be reburied. Marta reflected on the dual nature of courtesy, both as a mask for deceit and a tool for unveiling the truth. Her revelations had not only solved a murder, but had also forced the passengers to confront the polite stories they had built around their own ugly deeds. Her role as an investigator was not just to bring justice for Weissmann, but to hold a mirror to the passengers, challenging them to see the reflection of their own complicity. As the salon settled into a heavy silence, the passengers were left to grapple with the weight of their own revelations. Marta's work was done, but the journey to justice was just beginning. The train, still snowbound, was a microcosm of old Europe, its corridors echoing with the whispers of past crimes and the quiet violence of perfect courtesy. In this pivotal moment, Marta Szekely had not only exposed a murderer, but had also laid bare the complex web of human relationships and the moral compromises that had allowed such crimes to fester. Her revelations were a testament to the power of truth, a reminder that while justice may be elusive, the pursuit of it is a noble and necessary endeavor. Chapter 12, Snowbound Fallout. The first light of dawn crept through the frost-laden windows of the Orient Express, casting a gray pallor over the compartment. The train remained snowbound, but within its confines, the truth had finally emerged. Marta Szekely stood at the center of the salon, her presence a quiet command for attention. The Baroness Ilse von Raben, once the epitome of grace and decorum, now sat with her head bowed, the weight of her exposed deeds pressing down like the snow outside. As the passengers absorbed the revelations, Marta reflected on the intricate web of courtesy and deceit that had ensnared them all. The missing passenger, once a shadowy figure, was woven into the narrative through the testimony of those who had unknowingly been complicit in his concealment. His absence was a silent witness to the interconnected histories that had led to this moment. Marta's understanding of the complex motivations at play deepened. The Baroness's impeccable manners, once a shield, had become her undoing. It was essential, Marta realized, to see beyond the facade of politeness to the quiet violence that lurked beneath. The Baroness had used etiquette as a tool, a way to mask her true intentions and manipulate those around her. In the subdued atmosphere, as reputations crumbled, Marta found a certain solace. Justice, though delayed, was set in motion. The train might still be trapped, but the truth had been liberated. Marta's thoughts turned to the nature of human behavior, the stories we tell to cover our actions, and the courage it takes to uncover them. The snowbound fallout was not just the resolution of a murder mystery, but a testament to the enduring power of truth. The snow outside the Orient Express had finally ceased its relentless assault, leaving the train cocooned in a white silence that felt both eerie and serene. Inside, the atmosphere was tense, a taut string on the verge of snapping. As the passengers gathered in the salon, the air was thick with anticipation. Marta Sheckley, the unassuming claims adjuster turned investigator, stood at the center of it all, ready to unravel the mystery that had gripped everyone since Dr. Otto Weissmann's body was discovered. The salon was hushed, save for the occasional creak of the train settling into its snowy bed. The passengers sat in a semicircle, their expressions a mix of curiosity and apprehension. The Baroness Ilse von Raben, with her impeccably poised demeanor, sat with her hands folded neatly in her lap, her eyes betraying nothing. Marta, notebook in hand, began her tale. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice steady and clear, "we have gathered here to resolve the tragic death of Dr. Weissmann. It is my duty to present the findings of my investigation, which I believe will reveal the truth." She paused, allowing the weight of her words to settle over the room. The only sound was the soft ticking of the salon clock, a reminder of time slipping by, indifferent to human affairs. "The mystery appeared to be a classic locked room scenario," Marta continued, "but as we will see, appearances can be deceiving." She glanced around the room, ensuring she had everyone's attention before proceeding. "The first clue," she said, "lies in the glass of cordial found in Dr. Weissmann's compartment. It was not part of the dinner service, which suggests it was brought in privately." The passengers exchanged glances, the significance of the detail dawning on them. Marta pressed on, her voice gaining momentum. "The second clue is the timing of Dr. Weissmann's death. The doctor aboard estimated he passed well after he retired for the night. This supports the theory of a delayed poison rather than an immediate attack." Baroness von Raben shifted slightly in her seat, a subtle movement that did not escape Marta's notice. She continued, her gaze steady on the Baroness. "The third and most telling clue is the manner in which etiquette was used as a mask. Baroness von Raben, you were the only one to insist on serving the drink yourself during your courtesy visit to Dr. Weissmann." The Baroness met Marta's gaze, her expression inscrutable. "I was merely observing the proper etiquette," she replied, her voice as smooth as polished marble. "Indeed," Marta acknowledged, "but it was your insistence on narrating every aspect of etiquette that raised my suspicions. It was as though you were setting a stage rather than following instinct." She paused, allowing the tension to build. The cordial glass, the timing, and the manners that do too much all point to the same conclusion. Baroness, you had both the means and the motive to administer a delayed poison to Dr. Weissmann. The room was silent, the weight of the accusation hanging in the air. The Baroness remained composed, her expression unchanged. "Your motive," Marta continued, "stemmed from Dr. Weissmann's past. His philanthropy was built on the very war crimes that entangled your family name. You could not allow the past to surface." The Baroness's eyes flickered, a brief crack in her otherwise impenetrable facade. Marta pressed on, her voice unwavering. "It was not just about revenge, but containment. You used your access to rare medicines through your charitable hospital work to procure the poison, knowing precisely how to administer it for a delayed effect." A murmur rippled through the room as the passengers processed the revelation. The Baroness remained silent, her silence more telling than any protest. "The evidence suggests," Marta concluded, "that you orchestrated this act with precision, using your perfect manners as both a tool and a shield." The room was still, the truth settling over the passengers like a fresh layer of snow. Marta stepped back, her role as the harbinger of justice complete. As the Baroness was escorted from the room, the tension began to dissipate, replaced by a sense of resolution. The other passengers exchanged relieved glances. The mystery that had held them captive finally unraveled. Marta watched the scene unfold, a quiet satisfaction settling over her. She had done her duty, not just in solving the case, but in revealing the truth behind the facade. The train remained trapped in the snow, but for Marta, the journey had reached its conclusion. As dawn broke over the Carpathian Mountains, the first rays of light filtering through the snow-covered windows, the passengers began to stir, ready to face whatever lay ahead. Marta, too, prepared to move forward, her mind already turning to the next mystery, the next story waiting to be told. In the end, it was not just about solving a murder, but about understanding the people behind the actions, the stories hidden beneath the surface. And in that understanding, Marta found her own resolution, a quiet peace amidst the chaos of human nature. The gray dawn filtered through the frost-laden windows of the Orient Express, casting a muted light on the gathered passengers in the salon. The tension was palpable, an oppressive weight that filled the dimly lit room. Marta Sheckley, the astute investigator, stood at the center, her presence commanding and reassuring. The air was thick with unspoken accusations and the rustle of nervous whispers, as each passenger waited for the revelations that Marta promised would unravel the mystery surrounding the missing passenger. Marta began by weaving a narrative that connected the enigmatic missing passenger to the unfolding events. Her storytelling was masterful, integrating indirect testimonies and subtle clues gathered throughout the journey. The passengers listened intently, their faces a mix of skepticism and anticipation. As Marta spoke, she introduced a key piece of evidence, a soldier's medal found in a staff coat pocket. This relic of past conflicts was a tangible link between the missing passenger and Weissmann's wartime dealings, suggesting that this elusive figure had a significant role in the drama that was unfolding aboard the train. The atmosphere in the salon grew increasingly tense, as Marta's deductions forced the passengers to confront their shared histories. They began to understand how their lives had been intertwined by the shadows of war and the allure of wealth. The soldier's medal was not just a piece of metal. It was a symbol of the interconnectedness of their pasts and the motives that had brought them to this point. As Marta presented her findings, the chapter built to a crescendo. Her revelations exposed the intricate web of deceit spun by those aboard the train, leading to a collective moment of realization among the passengers. Marta's insights into the nature of courtesy and deception became evident as she unraveled the facade of perfect manners that had masked the true intentions of the suspects. The passengers' defenses began to crumble, and the truth emerged, shedding light on the complex motivations driving each character. This emotional journey was not just about uncovering a mystery. It was about understanding the human condition, the lengths people would go to protect their secrets, and the power of truth to bring about catharsis. Readers would feel a mix of satisfaction and shock as the missing passenger's role was revealed, highlighting the intricate layers of deception and the ultimate quest for justice. Marta's character continued to evolve throughout this chapter, showcasing her resilience and intellectual prowess. Her ability to connect disparate pieces of information highlighted her growth as an investigator. She was not just solving a crime, she was piecing together the fragments of human nature, understanding the complexities of the people around her. The other passengers, particularly those implicated in the mystery, experienced a transformation as their facades were stripped away, revealing the vulnerabilities and regrets beneath. This subchapter served as a crucial turning point in the narrative, setting the stage for the confrontation and reckoning in the following chapters. Marta's revelations provided the necessary groundwork for the ultimate exposure of the Baroness's role in Weissmann's death. The logical progression of the narrative ensured a satisfying resolution as the pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place. As the chapter drew to a close, the snowbound train remained a symbol of confinement and tension. Yet, within its confines, the truth had begun to emerge, and justice was set in motion. Marta's journey was far from over, but with each revelation, she moved closer to the final resolution, where the past and present would converge, and the mystery would be solved. The integration of the missing passenger was not just about finding a person. It was about understanding the interconnectedness of their lives and the motives that drove them. It was about peeling away the layers of deception and exposing the truth that lay beneath. As the train remained trapped in the Carpathian Mountains, the passengers were forced to confront their pasts and the choices they had made, leading to a moment of reckoning that would change their lives forever. Marta Szekely sat alone in the dimly lit dining car of the snowbound Orient Express, her presence a quiet contrast to the chaos that had erupted aboard the train. The early morning light filtered through the frosted windows, casting a soft glow over the polished wood and silverware. The air was still, save for the faint sound of the train's creaks and groans as it settled into the snow. Marta cradled a cup of lukewarm tea, her thoughts as unsettled as the passengers who had been left reeling from the previous night's revelations. As she sipped her tea, Marta pondered the intricate dance of courtesy and deception she had witnessed. The train's enforced proximity had peeled back layers of civility, revealing the raw emotions and hidden motives beneath. This moment of reflection was crucial, a pause that allowed Marta to consolidate her insights and prepare for the final confrontation that loomed ahead. Her thoughts drifted to the Baroness Ilse von Raben, whose impeccable manners had initially masked a calculating mind. The Baroness had wielded etiquette as a weapon, manipulating perceptions and deflecting suspicion with the precision of a seasoned diplomat. For Marta, this realization underscored the dual nature of courtesy, both a social lubricant and a mask for darker intentions. Marta recalled her interactions with the other passengers. Henri Valois, the sharp-eyed journalist, Father André Petrescu, the quiet priest, Victor Kessel, the anxious associate, and Sister Magdalena Kroll, the serene nurse. Each had used politeness to their advantage, masking their true motives behind a veneer of civility. It was an intricate web of relationships and histories, each thread woven with care to conceal the truth. In this quiet moment, Marta experienced a profound self-reflection. She acknowledged her own reliance on courtesy to navigate the social complexities of the train. Her observational skills, honed through years of reading human behavior, were sharpened by her ability to discern the subtleties of manners and gestures. This introspection reinforced her resolve to see justice served, not just for Weissmann, but for all those whose lives had been touched by his actions. The truth, Marta realized, was not merely a matter of uncovering facts. It was about understanding the intricate web of relationships that bound the passengers together. The murder of Otto Weissmann was a symptom of a larger malaise, one that extended beyond the confines of the train and into the broader tapestry of post-war Europe. The past had a way of seeping into the present, staining reputations and tainting even the most polished facades. As the first rays of dawn began to illuminate the snow-covered landscape, Marta stood and moved to the window. The scene outside was both breathtaking and isolating, a world transformed by the blizzard into a vast expanse of white silence. This moment of clarity was both literal and metaphorical, symbolizing her readiness to confront the Baroness and expose the truth. With renewed determination, Marta made a silent vow to unravel the deception that had ensnared the train's passengers. She understood now that manners and truth were often at odds, and it was her task to navigate the treacherous waters of human behavior to uncover the reality beneath the surface. The dining car was beginning to stir with the first signs of life as other passengers emerged from their compartments. Polite nods and murmured greetings were exchanged, the rituals of courtesy reasserting themselves in the face of uncertainty. Yet, Marta knew that beneath this veneer of civility lay a simmering tension, a quiet violence masked by perfect manners. She returned to her seat, her mind replaying the events that had transpired. The cordial glass, the timing of Weissmann's death, the Baroness's insistence on narrating etiquette, each clue was a piece of a larger puzzle, one that Marta was determined to solve. Her thoughts turned to the Baroness once more, the woman whose perfect manners had become evidence of her guilt. For Marta, the challenge lay not only in proving the Baroness's culpability, but in understanding the motivations that had driven her to such lengths. The past was a powerful force, capable of shaping the present in ways that were both profound and destructive. It was a lesson Marta had learned during her wartime service, where she had witnessed firsthand the capacity for human beings to build polite stories around ugly deeds. As the train remained halted, Marta's resolve only deepened. She was not a detective in the traditional sense, but her skills as a reader of systems and human habits had served her well. She would use her understanding of courtesy and deception to untangle the truth and bring justice to those who had been wronged. The snow continued to press against the windows, a reminder of the train's confinement and the isolation it imposed. Yet, within this microcosm of old Europe, Marta found herself on the brink of a revelation. The murder of Otto Weissmann was not just a crime to be solved. It was a reflection of the broader struggles that defined the era, a struggle between the polished facades of the past and the harsh realities of the present. As she prepared for the final confrontation, Marta knew that the journey ahead would not be easy. The truth was a fragile thing, easily obscured by the shadows of courtesy and deception. But she was determined to see it through, armed with the knowledge that even the most perfect manners could not hide the truth forever. With a quiet resolve, Marta returned to her notebook, her pen poised to capture the insights and observations that would guide her in the coming hours. The stage was set for the dramatic revelations to come, and Marta was ready to play her part in the unfolding mystery.